My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. That's DBUNI, gang stalking with the demon in unit number 55, who is stalking right above me in the living room where the fake sun and engineer light is aiming inside of the living room. That's a demon stalking in the path with light, just like Ontario PD did with license 8GEN638 at 12:13 p.m. And then the Ontario police flies right over in relevant position. They're gang stalking with the police right now. The audible activity is inside of the apartment where the demon in unit 55 with license 5WUB715 is stomping. That's amplified noise that's happening inside of the apartment under the fake sun where the entity is on in 2024, keeping the fake sun over my apartment. Where you hear amplification, that's what Ontario PD's role was via helicopter, and it's happening under the fake sun. That's the P.O.C. She's going to a mental asylum, and the demons that you hear stalking by a train are doing so by helicopter because they were already stalking with DBUNI. She's going to prison. All right, she's going to federal prison, gang stalking with the police like everybody in units 33 through 64 who are monitoring on my device. Well, you will see on April 1st, 2024, the entity is gang stalking while I'm living in Los Angeles, where there's no sun over my front apartment, and cannot hear the plane that's at that elevation, at that distance. This is the demonic environment, and you're looking at demons who are gang stalking commercial planes. Paul Leon is being removed from office. Gang stalking by Paul Leon is being removed from office. Talking with the population, which is identified through a specific environment that defies nature, juxtaposed with the specific environment in Los Angeles on the same day, at the same time, the removal from office by Paul Leon. Karen Bass's criminal engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring is also hereby certified. That was demonic pacing. The helicopter over the apartment building, they were already gang stalking me by helicopter with this psychopath, this sex offender that's monitoring my genitalia with the rest of the neighborhood in the city, while she's stomping with amplified noise. It's amplified in volume, it's demonic. The helicopter is flying over the building. This is what they're doing after 6 p.m. and they're flying over this apartment like I documented on video, where these mental health patients are gang stalking with their children in September of 2024, where this fake sun is still here, and the same demons of the Ontario Police Department are flying over me here where the entity is gang stalking. These are demons. Pacing, flying over in helicopter, pacing, flying over in commercial plane, amplification of that which you cannot hear. You can't hear the Ontario train at Woodside Senior Apartments, inside of the car parked on Vine Avenue, inside of a car parked at Fern Avenue, Avenue, which is on the opposite corner. You can't hear the train inside of the apartment, nor is the sun going to be over Los Angeles, over my apartment, outside my living room window at 10 in the morning, over my front door at 12 in the afternoon, which is speaking to no sun would be here at 12:05 p.m. like I am documenting now. And the police and the airport and the population are sharing in what is psychological torture while they're gang stalking. And they're also doing so while the police are relying on the gang stalkers that live at the apartment. That's why the police fly over in the video under the fake sun that's still here in the middle of the day, because that's how you know that it's reflecting off of 8VKP279's vehicle, the back license plate. Remember what I documented? And the entity that has this same fake sun reflecting off of the vehicle that's parked under the carport at 9:46 in the morning. It's still here. You also know when, again, San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is gang stalking and this fake sun is still here. When I walk over to the people of the state, their apartment, like he did, gang stalking me, like the Ontario Police Department are, engaging in documented kidnappings as well. That's why they're being disbanded and they're still obsessed in stalking me. That's speaking to their mental illness. The amplified train activity, it's speaking to their mental illness. The fact that they have a whole operation of stalking me together, that's speaking to the mental illness of the police, of the pilots that are stalking in planes, of the mayor that's sitting in office, of the population that's gang stalking obsessively under a fake sun. Okay? That is, again, the entity that is gang stalking as a whole population. And the entity is doing so in an environment that is irreconcilable. The fake sun is remaining outside my living room window as I'm looking at on video. And as I look at it, a psychopath, a gang stalker, which is what that is right there, a gang stalker is stalking with amplified noise inside of the apartment. Okay? Now, he looks to be about a good 450 pounds, slamming his car door is audible activity. And he's doing so in this specific environment, by the way. Engineer light is underneath. This is monitoring conduct while he is walking in this specific environment and is creating activity. All right, his license plate with the Ontario Police, he's already going to prison. License plate 6A42707, and see the fake sun move as I move. All right, this is where the fake sun is still reflecting off of windshields, and that's what's happening after 2 p.m. The fake sun is in the exact same position to be reflecting off of a vehicle that's parked in the parking lot after 2 p.m. And like a laser, it's reflecting off of a windshield and pointing into Tracy Banks's living room as you open the blinds and the demon shadows are appearing. That's the entity that's gang stalking by engaging in surveillance over the apartment building, flying over as I begin capturing video, as I'm reading the license plates of the demons that are going to prison. This one, and DBUNI, she is living in this building right here. She's going to prison. She's gang stalked with the Ontario Fire Department as well, engaged in criminal summoning. This is the entity that's under a fake sun that's not in Los Angeles. That's speaking to the specific environment where LA, just like Karen Bases and Paul Leon are sharing in that domestic terrorism system that I'm exposing. The federal government's engagement in surveillance, psychological torture, and psychological warfare. These are the demon-possessed who are engaging in an ongoing campaign of psychological warfare while they are stalking me as a corrupt public entity. And this is going to be the comprehensive prosecution of that gang stalking system that is satanic. You need to know that Karen Bass serves Satan, Paul Leon serves Satan, Dominique Choi, that was formerly the chief of police, he serves Satan, and his replacement serves Satan. Okay, the entity is gang stalking, and their gang stalking is the outward demonstration of demon possession, and it is the prosecution for public corruption. And the mental health patient, her demon possession is shared with the demon that was stalking in plane and helicopter, in alignment, flying over this building, flying over in alignment, coinciding with the vehicle driving out at the same time under what is a fake sun, and it's coinciding with what it is. The entity that's flying over by helicopter is engaging in ongoing CEASELESS surveillance, which is evident by the fake sun remaining here. And not only that, this is what I'm looking at online. I want you to see. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and this is what is inspiring a demon that's engaging in criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. AVANATH, Linda Reyes, is going to prison as surely as you see the police gang stalking me where she works, as surely as you see her employer, while the government is gang stalking at the apartment complex. And this is where the fake sun is at 12:51 p.m. You already know that this is the specific environment. At 12:53 p.m., just days ago, San Bernardino County is gang stalking me while the fake sun, same time of year, is over my head in its zenith, and I'm in Los Angeles at my apartment. This is what I'm showing while I'm looking at the hillside at my apartment, unit number 6. Okay, and this is at 12:51. 12:51, the fake sun is still here. The entity is aiming engineer light. Okay, this is not sunlight, nor is that the sun, where the entity is engaging in the hallmark, stalking by helicopter, and gang stalking with amplified noise with simultaneity. The amplified noise, the engineered light, the concerted conduct of a population, they're mentally ill. These are psychopaths. as you are diagnosing their criminal activity with regard to federal prison and mental assignments, the required mental examinations, and also it is the entity that is engaged in the system of what is federal group stalking, monitoring, criminal surveillance. And surveillance is relevant to identifying the specific environment that defies nature. That's not the product of sunlight, and it certainly isn't while the sun is at the same time, even on the same day, remaining over me in Los Angeles. And this is what is inspiring. License 5WUB715, she is indeed gang stalking me while amplified booming is heard, while under the fake sun, which remains here because you know it's coloring this patio glass door after 5 p.m. like I documented yesterday. No one forgot, and it's here at 12, meaning it's still going to be here after 5 p.m. That is the concrete evidence of removing the law enforcement agency, Ontario PD, that's still gang stalking within the U.S. government's P.O.C., the Ontario International Airport that's going to be shut down, gang stalking within the U.S. government's P.O.C., and so is Woodside Senior Apartments. And there are a bunch of demons amongst engineered light under the fake sun that's still here after 5 p.m. like you saw yesterday. And today in 2024 at 10:37 a.m., this is where the fake sun is also remaining outside of my living room window. And this is what I'm looking at when I'm being terrorized inside of the apartment and the entity has what is a fake sun and not a cloudy day. It's not weather. This is light activity. It's analogous to using hazard lights, flashing light on and off, where a fake sun is over. This doesn't even have anything to do with the fake sun in the sky. And that's how you know this, because it's this light activity right here. This is light. That's what you see opening up the door. This is an ongoing demonic pattern of conduct, creating the illusion of an environment that actually defies nature. And everything that's covered in what is light is engineered light that has nothing to do with the fake sun. This light remains here regardless of the fake sun being seen. And that is engineered light that's covering everything in its light activity while they move around, drive around, fly around, create amplified noise in it. And on this day in 2024 at 10:37 a.m., so that is between 10:37 a.m. and 12:51 p.m., there is no provision in the natural environment that the sun is both remaining over me in Los Angeles at my apartment, 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. Let me show you the light source itself. And also it is remaining, I'm gonna go ahead and get this. Here it is right here. It's over my front door as I walk outside to my patio. It's right over the top of my head, just like it is here. Right over the top of my head, just like it is here. This is not the sky space at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. This is not going to be the license plate of the group stalker 8VKP279. Criminal engagement, that third party and everybody else is gang stalking with the Ontario police who are flying. That is surveillance in a helicopter over the apartment building. Stalking with noise, stalking with light, stalking by residents. The gang stalker in Unit 55 who is criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. As I look at that evidence, and then as I get to walk out to get video, the helicopter flies over the amplified audible activity of a plane, which would be also impossible to hear. That helicopter will never create a vibration of the apartment. That's called sensational activity by demons who are gang stalking, engaging in domestic terrorism, and they did so on video while they are aware of the fact that they have been documented because they're monitoring my internet activity, and this is what is inspiring the ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment and engineered light. Okay, if you look at the pictures I was taking, the engineered light was appearing on this wall, moving down in real time, and the engineered light is now on the ceiling. Here it is right here. The engineered light steadily moving like insects all across the wall. Stationary. This is where the Ontario police are exhibiting demon possession. I'm laughing not because it's funny. I'm laughing because they're going to be, and you are aware of their mental illness while they're engaging in spending millions of dollars on keeping me under surveillance. In the ways in which they just demonstrated, they're engaged in surveillance over the apartment building, and they're stalking with the demons that live at a senior citizen complex. This is what the Ontario Police Department are utilizing resources of a police department for. And they're doing so in furtherance of committing murder. They're doing so because they serve Satan. They're demon possessed. Their mental illness, which is proven by their criminal conduct, which is inexplicable and illegitimate as a corrupt government, it's because they're demons. And this is impossible light. And it's on what is my hand as I lift it up, and you're looking at the evidence of surveillance. That is what is covering everything. It's not the sun. That's the proof that the entity is gang stalking, which they also prove because they're stalking with in the hallmarks that I've identified at the outset: by helicopter, by plane, amplified train, coloring what the third party in the parking lot is doing, stalking in the path. She's walking out of her apartment, getting in her car. She's monitoring me. She's driving out. The police are flying over. The airport flies over. There's no terminals over here where they're taking off. And you cannot hear the train over here. These are the elements of monitoring. And the engineer light inside is what is actually covering everything. The fake sun is a very highly unintelligent identifying factor. And you know that because of not only the character of the light, but because it's over me between the hours of 12:51 p.m. on this day in 2024, and it stays over me as I'm documenting on video in my living room. I'm documenting the pattern of conduct. The building of 1800 is what I'm standing on. The building of 1800 is on the opposite side of this hillside, meaning it's in that direction where I just stood. And as I stood in front of building 1800, this light source was in the same position in what was an entirely opposite direction. This is impossible, the opposite direction of my apartment. So I'm inside of my apartment, and the fake sun is outside of my living room window. That which is outside of my living room window at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, from 10:37 to 12:51 p.m. is not at the same time of year, on the same day, at the same time, remaining stationary, like you already know, because this is where the fake sun rises. And this is where, like you saw yesterday again, it's just feet away here, where demons stalking the path with their hazard lights on, like I documented yesterday afternoon. In fact, let's get that license plate, because you already have that evidence and it's already published online, just so that you're aware of what the demons are doing, like I document on an ongoing basis. And demons that are obsessed engage in that pattern of conduct, and that obsession is exhibited. The pattern of conduct as I published it, let me go ahead and let me see. 1 second, let me go through my videos. This is the P.O.C. channel, by the way, where you can look at the pattern of conduct as I publish it online in real time on the website and on the P.O.C. channel. Hold on 1 second. Seconds later, it's... And this is the P.O.C. website. It's at thisisthepoc.wordpress.com, where I'm maintaining an ongoing consistent body of evidence to prosecute the United States government that's gang stalking via the state of California. These are a bunch of low-level demons. And when I'm speaking of low-level demons, I'm referencing Satan having the low-level demons. These are the ones I was supposed to be handled at the state level, but that didn't happen. And at the state level is also referenced with regard to so-called spiritual authority by demons who think that they're more powerful than they actually are. They're not at all. They have been defeated, and not only have they been defeated in the spirit, they've been defeated because I'm prosecuting them, and they are still obsessed with me. They're still stalking me, as the police, the airport, the population shows, also through the environment, not just their gang stalking behavioral pattern. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct with regard to knowledge that it's being documented. And this is what I documented yesterday after 5 p.m. inside of the same apartment, where I'm capturing on this patio glass door. This is the engineer light that's magnified in size. This is the same engineer light that's framing the same front door. The entity is using the door as a means of, that's 8GEN 638. They're gang stalking with the Ontario police. That's why they're going to prison. That old lady, she's going to prison. Her grandson, her son, they're going to prison. They're gang stalking with the demons, the same Latino male going to prison. And as fat as they are, they do not cause the ceiling and the walls to crack when they walk around. They're going to federal prison. They're gang stalking as an elderly community. And the engineer light that frames the door, this is the same engineer light that's framing the door after 5 p.m. This picture is captured at 5:22 p.m., where I'm capturing the specific environment that remains regardless of the placement of the fake sun. It's the same condition with regard to engineer light across the ceiling and across the walls and the ceiling, framing the inside, illuminating. This is surrounding with engineer light where surveillance is underway, and the demon possessed are engaging in surveillance. It's the evidence of stalking in an unfathomable and unprecedented manner that the U.S. government incentivizes. And this is the placement of the same fake sun after 5 p.m. This is what I'm documenting. I'm inside of the same apartment outside of this patio glass door, where the fake sun is here right now at 12:18 p.m. And on this day at 12:51 p.m. in Los Angeles, not at 408 West G Street in Ontario, the entity has the fake sun, and there's only one sun. So the fake sun is evident of what is the malicious pattern of conduct outside of what the natural environment could ever encompass. Speaking to the malicious engagement and the psychotic iteration of a surveillance system, which is literally satanic. Those are demons stalking in a helicopter, demons stalking in planes, demons stalking as a citywide effort. DBUNI, that's her license plate. She's going to prison. And so is the Latino male that's driving in the truck. All he's doing is creating activity while a fake sun remains planted over Tracy Banks's door. And it remains planted here, like I documented yesterday, after 5:30 p.m. And the entity is maintaining this light source in perfect alignment with me, where the police are gang stalking in that environment. The police is spending millions of dollars. And this is what I'm taking a screenshot of to remind you about what I'm documenting on the morning of March 29th, 2025 at 9:46 a.m., where the fake sun is over this same exact apartment building, over unit 48, 47, that end of the same building, and that's where it is right now, 12:19 p.m. and that's where it stays. It stays over the same apartment building as I'm documenting in the evening, like I captured yesterday evening, where it is reflecting. It's piercing through the apartment of Tracy Banks's patio glass door after 5:30 p.m. This is the image that I'm capturing. This is the same patio glass door here. So it's 12 right now, after 5 p.m. It's still in alignment with me, as I've already shown, and this is where the entity is keeping the fake sign after 5. This is where the police are stalking. This is where the airport is stalking, and this is a satanic monitoring system, and that's the significance of elderly people who are stalking via noise. Stalking via noise is demonic, and it's also mentally depraved. It's demented. It's speaking to the criminal conduct, which is going to serve for the diagnosis of mental illness upon a federal prosecution, and that mental diagnosis is shared by the gang stalking police, the Ontario Police, who are again on yet another day exhibiting why gang stalking police officers are going straight to prison. And as their mental illness is clearly exhibited through their P.O.C, they are subject also to what is mental asylums. And their mental illness is already put at the outset of their the forefront of their prosecution, because federal group stalking and monitoring is very psychopathic. All right, it is very demented. It is done also in furtherance of a whole community that wants to murder and kidnap one person, and this is the demonic activity by a corrupt population, and it incorporates, the corruption of the government. The sun that's over me in Los Angeles is not creating any sunlight. That's how you know that it's engineered light. You further know that it's not sunlight and it's engineered light because it's occurring on the inside of an apartment. It has nothing to do with reflection, has nothing to do with anything that has to do with sunlight. And while you're looking at what is the engineered light that appears and disappears, you see how it's gone now? Those were demons, 8GEN638. They're gang stalking in plain view. This is all engineer light. This is all engineer light. And everything that's outside has nothing to do with the fake sun. This is breaking the illusion apart. This is all engineered light. All of this is engineered light presence and activity via plane, helicopter, train, via residents, via landscapers, by employees. They're going to prison at Woodside Senior Apartments, and they are under a fake sign, which is proven. And as I review that evidence, the entity engaged in this documented iteration of the P.O.C. by helicopter. They were sitting above the apartment building just like they were at 12:13 p.m. when 8GEN638 is gang stalking in the parking lot. I come out, I give video. The moment that I start capturing pictures, the demons that were already stalking in relevant position over the apartment building flies over in relevant position. That's exactly what they just did right now in the course of this video with license DBUNI. They're engaging in surveillance while a demon maintains noise inside of the apartment as I review what is under surveillance on my devices. This is the conclusive prosecution of the state of California, which is engaged in the U.S. government's pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. DBUNI, again, federal prison. This is my shadow that's appearing very faint on the sidewalk. That's impossible light activity. And the entity is monitoring documentation in real time. That's what the Ontario Police Department just proved again. I want you to see how the fake sun moves as I move. This is where the fake sun is after 2 p.m. and it's supposed to be reflecting, doing the exact same thing that it is right now after 2 p.m. This is the highly unintelligent system. He's going to prison. 6A42707. This is a Latino male. He's going to federal prison. He's gang stalking. And there is my shadow over there. All right, just so you can see. There's my shadow underneath the cooler, and you've got the demons that are stalking around amongst the engineer lights, engaging in surveillance, engaging in monitoring, engaging in gang stalking, using the resources of a corrupt city. Paul Leon is being removed from office. This is exposing gang stalking mayors, terrorism in a state. All right, and Mike Lorenz is done. The Ontario Police Department is done. You have what is the gang stalking police officers that engaged in kidnapping. This is the criminal system they were engaged in. When they engaged in kidnapping, they're going to prison with reference to the documented gang stalkers of the Ontario Police Department and the gang stalking Sheriff's Department. They're going to prison. They're going to be disbanded. It is currently 12:23 p.m. where the fake sun is going to remain here as the evidence shows hours from now when it's reflecting off of the same windshields that it is right now. And the entities engaging in the elements of monitoring relevant positioning, audible activity, and light activity, and their severe mental instability is put at the forefront of the prosecution, who was gang stalking with the elderly community in Ontario, California, in an unmistakable environment in order to identify it and prove it. And it's also speaking to the scientific phenomenon regarding the corruption of the government, who was gang stalking with a population in a very readily identifiable level environment. Everybody over 55 at Woodside, including Linda Reyes, is gang stalking. In the video at 10:42 a.m., the Ontario police are gang stalking with Linda Reyes, who has her prop, her broom and her dustpan at the dumpster, while the same police department is gang stalking me, and they're triggered by the evidence that I'm looking at on my communication devices. These demons, who are very severely psychopathic in their minds, they're going to mental asylums and prison. And Mike Lorenz is done with law enforcement. The entire police department of the Ontario Police, they're done. They're going to be disbanded, but they're also going to federal prison. That demon that is stalking and engaging in what is pacing, that is the outward demonstration of demon possession. They're pacing. You know their code of conduct because of the specific environment. That's actually a demon that's pacing. And they're doing so under the fake sun. That's not over my front door, outside over my apartment, over the top of my head at my front door in Los Angeles on the same day at 12:51 p.m. It's 12:25, and this is exactly where this fake sun stays, because the city of Ontario is a gang stalk, right? This is the entity that's stalking by plane, all right, plane and helicopter, all right. And the entity is engaging in what is, they're all of the gang stalkers who are the people of the state, they're being prosecuted for the ongoing documentation of their impunity. All right, so they're going to federal prison. The more that you document a psychopath, the more that psychopath will act out and further threaten you. You're going to prison and you're not getting out. You're going to mental asylums and you're not getting out. You know very well who the mental health patients are in 41. They're not getting out while their co-defendant is gang stalking in a helicopter and continuously doing so in order to prosecute both of them. And this is a company-wide effort as well. AVANATH Capital Management, civil and criminal prosecution for the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment while they're gang stalking with the city police department. And the entity that is gang stalking under the fake sun that's flying right here over me in a plane, and I'm laughing there because they're flying through the sun. That's not the natural environment. They're doing so while you are documenting it, and they're doing it more than one plane. This is the entity that is engaging in that with the people of the state. So the people of the state are being prosecuted for their criminal engagement in what is the surveillance system that the entity sought to do in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping. And the more that I expose it, the more psychopathic their conduct is in the planes, in the helicopters, which is state action, okay? The people of the state are engaged in state action. All right, this demon amplified pacing, she's engaged in state action, and she's helping the gang stalkers in the helicopter, which are, again, gang stalkers of the police department. They do so to commit murder and then claim some sort of argument as to why they took your life. There is zero tolerance for domestic terrorism amongst the gang stalking police departments, such as the Ontario Police, in every documented one. This is evidence going against every single last one of their individual cases that are going under their name, such as Jason Knighton, such as Lester Keys, such as Jonathan Burnett, such as S. Patty, such as Corey Watson, if I hadn't stated him already. They're going to prison, amongst many others that I documented. This is the very evidence speaking to the criminal conduct that they engaged in when they waged malicious assertions about crimes never committed while they were gang stalking, trying to kidnap and obstruct justice. And engaging in gang stalking with the intent to obstruct justice is as criminal and despicable. And the people of the state share in that. They're the ones that engage in criminal summoning. They're the ones that are gang stalking you and want you to stop documenting. They are the psychopaths. And this is Tracy Banks engaging in this P.O.C. It's happening, the fake sun's over her apartment, engineer lights inside of her apartment, gang stalking by helicopters happening over her apartment, amplified audible activity, the criminal interference with quiet enjoyment by AVANATH Capital Management is happening inside of her apartment. The entity is gang stalking, keeping a fake sun after 5 p.m., which is right here, while I'm inside of her apartment. An engineer light is reaching underneath a covered patio, a scientific phenomenon, not only based on the idle fake sun, but the appearance of light coming underneath a covered structure, and your shadow appearing above, light appearing and moving and disappearing inside of her apartment like it's insects, but it's light. Speaking to gang stalking, it's happening inside of Tracy Banks's apartment. This third party is going to a mental asylum. Tracy Banks is surely, as you see, the demons of the Ontario Police pacing around the apartment building, monitoring me just like they were as licensed DBUNI is gang stalking with them, engaging in the corrupt bidding of the government that's engaging in surveillance on devices, and engaging in what is monitoring my genitalia inside of an apartment, having no warrant or probable cause, no legitimate interest in such sexually perverted aspects of gang stalking that it incentivizes amongst a whole elderly community. And remember, these old folks are just one, it's just one venue. The entire city of Ontario is gang stalking. Okay, it is currently, again, 12:28 p.m. DBU, I want to be clear, she's going to prison. And the Latino male, he's going to federal prison, whose license plate I documented. I will go ahead and capture screenshots and document it again. This mental health patient in Unit 55, license 5WB715, she's going to a mental asylum. They are acting, all of the entity I'm only speaking to who's going to prison based on who was engaging in the elements in front of me. They're all engaging in the elements as a property. AVANATH is being prosecuted civilly and criminally. AVANATH's employees are going to prison. AVANATH's employee Unit 41 is going to a mental asylum. And all the rest of the occupants in that unit are going to a mental asylum. Everyone in units 33 through 64 are going to prison. And the entity that's gang stalking through the police, through the airport, that is pointing directly to the public corruption, which you already know by the environment, then they engage in their identical pattern, behavioral pattern in that environment. And they are doing so triggered by the evidence of what it is that I documented on this day in 2024, where there would never be any sun over my head like I documented, where the police are flying in circles over this apartment building because a psychopath is in a frenzy while I document and read license plates and go through what is the pattern of conduct, both inside of the apartment building where people are going to prison, everyone in units 33 through 64, where the fake sun never leaves. And that's what happened in Los Angeles. The fake sun never left. And this is what's happening at Woodside. It never leaves. That's why it's still here as I document. Yesterday evening after 5:30 p.m., the same fake sun is what I'm looking at. Engineer light remains in the same manner. That defies nature, and it is a pattern of conduct that is documented on the record. And as I documented again on this day, the entity kept the fake sun as late as I'm still documenting the P.O.C. Well, I'm always documenting the P.O.C. The entity is gang stalking. LAPD is gang stalking at 1:42 by helicopter, just like the LAPD is. And this is what I documented yesterday. The Ontario Police Department is gang stalking at 1:04 p.m. when I'm documenting that extensive podcast. And at 1:42 p.m. I'm capturing video, and I'm referencing this video because at the same time. So what happened yesterday with regard to the specific environment, as the entity would like to and very unpersuasively mimics, that's Satan, that's not God, not the creator, is wants to be God, and engaged in a very unintelligent copycat mode of the environment, which is the way you're identifying the crime scene where federal group stalking monitoring is happening, and the ability to see the fake sun over you in Florida, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, in New York. That's identifying what the U.S. government is doing around the country, and I'm prosecuting the state of California while LAPD is gang stalking at the same time in helicopter in the specific environment. This is a group stalker while LAPD is crossing path in helicopter. Hi, this is P.O.C. Yeah, she's going to federal prison. That's the fake sun that's over me at building 1810 North Alvarado Street yesterday at today, April 1st, 2024, and yesterday at the same time is what I'm referencing when I'm documenting. Well, let me show you LAPD first. There's the fake sun over me. That's crossing path in close proximity, not coincidentally. That simultaneous conduct, that simultaneous presence. Remember, on the engineered light, demons stalking the path with light. That's what DBUNI is doing in concert with the Ontario Police under a fake sun, which is over me at the same time yesterday, which I documented on video while the entity is keeping the fake sun at around the same time, 1:43 p.m. The entity is gang stalking while the fake sun is going to be at the same exact location at 1:43 p.m. And you know that it's still here at the same location as the entity engages in rising the fake sun on this side of Tracy Banks' front door and setting the fake sun on this side of Tracy Banks' front door while it remains at the same location. Never is it going to be within a natural environment capable of being over the top of my head at 1:43 in the afternoon, over the top of my head at 12:51 in the afternoon, where you're looking at the evidence of what's happening in Ontario at Woodside, a very specific location and a specific city, an entirely separate region from Los Angeles County, and what is tied together, the behavior, the hallmarks, the harassment, the terrorism by that population that's in that remarkable environment that is irreconcilable, and it's also insurmountable. And it is the prosecution of a gang stalking government and a gang stalking population who's in the shoes of that government, not private citizens. That's federal prison for license DBUNI. That's federal prison for the gang stalker, the heavyweight Latino male, and license 8GEN 638. They're already going to prison. They're in this building. They're unit 47. They're going to federal prison by virtue of their presence in this building and in this very building where they're stalking like unit 55 is, while I'm looking at damning evidence online, because everything that's happening online is under surveillance. That's stalking with noise amongst engineered light that is covering on the inside, and this is actually the character of all of the light that's covering everything. That's not the sun, nor is it sunlight. That's that satanic system of surveillance. And this is the nature of the environment yesterday, where the fake sun you see in the video is the fake sun that still stays here at this time yesterday. 1:43 p.m. Engineer light. You can hear the demon closing the door. This is the engineer light, just like it was during the cloudy state, having nothing to do with what is the fake sun in its zenith over me, while a demon crosses path whose name you know. That's Tracy Banks gang stalking. She's walking out of her own apartment. That's light activity and relevant positioning. And the entity is gang stalking on an ongoing basis as you are engaging in any activity in that environment that's designed for ceaseless and ongoing systematic monitoring, which is demonic, and it's also unconstitutional and inhumane. There's the fake sun at 1:43 p.m. and that's what I was comparing and juxtaposing to the ongoing course of conduct by the LAPD, just like the Ontario Police Department is doing under a fake sun that is on the same day on April 1st, 2021, remaining over me as a matter of video documentation between 12:51 p.m. and 10:37 a.m. I'm inside of my apartment. This was the sun, which you already know that it's not. I'm giving you, and the sun never left from being over my apartment at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. And as I document that, it's prosecuting the people of the state and it's prosecuting the psychopath, the sex offender that represents a whole department, the Ontario Police, which represents the city, the municipality, the gang stalking mayor, the gang stalking airport, while they are pacing like psychopaths in a circle flying over the apartment. And you know that they're stalkers and psychopaths because they're already in a position, in relevant position, to fly over during the course of my video while I read that sex offender's license plate, DBUNI, who's gang stalking by residents, and the entity gang stalking by air helicopter over the building, which means they were already over this same building stalking. And in this video, again, flying around in circles, that's called pacing. And it's called doing so while you're documenting in real time in an environment that defies nature. That's the demon-possessed Ontario Police. They have been all of their dirty laundry has been aired out, and they are a liability to the people. Gang stalking me more on video, the people of the state are going to prison for even longer. The Ontario Police is already being disbanded, and every documented gang stalker of that Ontario Police Department is going to prison. And that entire personnel, that whole personnel, they're done with law enforcement. Domestic terrorism by the police is not tolerable under any circumstances, and there is no negotiating with gang stalking police officers who go around bearing badges, stalking in helicopters, and bearing weapons in order to abuse the constitutional authority that they don't even have. They're masquerading as legitimate while they're stalking very obviously in helicopter. It's a surefire prosecution. And this is, again, Mike Lorenz's public removal from the position that he has. This is what he shares with, I was documenting Dominic Choi. Dominic Choi, the current, at the time when I'm documenting this, the current chief of police is replaced by what is nothing other than the ongoing grandfathered system of federal group stalking monitoring. They're still demons, they're still gang stalking, and so is Robert Luna of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. The entity keeps a fake sun over me wherever it is that I go, and this is speaking to the removal from existence, the Ontario Police Department. They are totally illegitimate, and all of the demons in units 33 through 64, they're going to prison because they're gang stalking with a very highly unintelligent agency who continues to incriminate them and cannot figure out how to stop with regard to their obsession. That's why they're subject to mental examinations. Their criminal conduct is directly attributed to their severe mental instability, and they will be subject to mental asylums, and they will be subject to what are mental examinations when they are placed in federal prison. And the entity is going to be prosecuted, identified as sex offenders. Gang stalking is an exceedingly violent sex offense. Speaking to what is domestic terrorism, and this is practiced by the United States government. And it's ongoing in California as I'm documenting and juxtaposing the city of Los Angeles and the city of Ontario, where the sun is not sitting in its zenith over the front door at unit 51 as I'm facing south at the same time, and it's remaining over me as I documented between 10:37 and 12:51 p.m., where there's no deviation or movement of the sun. Neither is the sun maintaining this ubiquitous presence so you could see it here, and it's also over my front door and outside of that living room window over the hillside, where the entity keeps that fake sun both rising and setting. That's the ongoing insurmountable evidence of psychopaths pacing around, both on the ground and in the sky space. The airport, the police, the population, the residents, the employees of AVANATH, they're being prosecuted. It's currently 12:38 p.m. This is a very embarrassing pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. All right, and the entity is going to be subject. I want to make sure I reiterate. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison, and her impunity is hereby documented while the entity is gang stalking. They are affecting each other's fate, while as an entity, they are striving to murder and kidnap and psychologically torture one person. That bully system is going to be used against them. Her impunity is exhibited while the population, license DBUNI, license 8GEN638, license 5WB715, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario International Airport, her impunity is hereby documented while I'm documenting video of the ongoing pattern of conduct, stalking and terrorism via engineered light by a gang stalking population, those who are residing at the venue for purposes of keeping me under surveillance, including in a bathroom. Sex offenders. This Linda Reyes is going to prison. And understand it's the same analysis for every gang stalking household who's engaged in that statewide POC. That's why the entity kept the fake son over me, both in the workplace where I worked at Alvarado Gardens and in my apartment where the entity was interfering in the private space where I lived, where the entity is keeping the fake son over my apartment as I documented, rising and setting, and the entity is gang stalking me by helicopter, both in the workplace and while I'm in my apartment, keeping me under ceaseless surveillance, exhibiting severe mental illness. This is, again, 12:39 p.m., the documentation of what is the entity that's gang stalking me by name, who I'm documenting. Shanita Ramaya McLean. This is a documented third party who by name is engaged in gang stalking. Don't miss the point. The people that say whose name I know are engaged in not only gang stalking, as I've already proven, but those whose name I know, they're being prosecuted. This is exactly what they're engaging in, and they're not ceasing to be engaged in that criminal statewide effort. I know those defendants' names. They are being documented, and they will be prosecuted. If I know your name, you're going to federal prison. If you participated in the criminal acts of criminal defamation in any corrupt court in the state, you're going to prison as surely as you're watching me put these videos online and the entity is trying to simultaneously suppress it while still gang stalking me. You're going to prison. Shanita Ramaya McLean, Glenn Anthony Williams, Jason Isaac Fields. This is somebody that is still engaged in what is trying to practice ineffective voodoo, stalking me and spiritually attacking me and gang stalking me with the police, with the population in the specific environment. And that's exactly what they were doing, spiritually attacking me, gang stalking me while I'm remaining in Los Angeles. And Jason Isaac Fields, regardless of their position, how they want to present themselves, providing any testimony that's going to help the federal government, it is not sufficient. This is not an ordinary prosecution. You are not given 100% immunity and you get to walk off free after you conspired with the government to murder and maintain an experiment on the life of a human being who still remains subject to it regardless of any given testimony, regardless of any illegitimate interests of a corrupt government that never had any constitutional authority to engage in it in the first place. The entity that's gang stalking, whose name I know, they are subject to federal prison, and the government shall not only make the target individual whole, they're going to be subject to a criminal prosecution, including that civil prosecution. This entity has stolen property, has tried to destroy property, and tried to destroy me and defame my reputation in doing so, while they thought that their witchcraft and their voodoo was going to work, and it didn't. And I'm still alive, and I'm prosecuting, and I'm documenting for purposes of showing how the damages are that which defy what has ever been recognized before under federal law. Okay, and I'm also speaking to what is an unprecedented basis of prosecution. The entity that is assuming that the system is going to go one way, in the same way that I have spoken to laws that need to come into existence because the federal government is engaged in the inhumane experiments that I am prosecuting, federal group stalking and monitoring on human beings. And there are rules and policies and laws that must come into existence because it is insufficient to provide somebody some unfettered basis of immunity, regardless of whether in fact they are cower down and they want to protect themselves and provide any sort of testimony against the entity. They're still gang stalking. They're still engaged in psychological warfare, and you will be subject to what is a prosecution regardless of that. That is what justice requires. You don't get off by doing that. It's the government's pattern of conduct. The government is the one that's engaging the POC. The government's the cause for these psychopaths that are high school graduates that can't spell Constitution, that are wasting millions of dollars and given weapons and badges to fly circles like chimpanzees in the sky space under fake sun, demons. That's why the federal government has prevented and incentivized this public corruption that I'm fully exposing, and I'm also prosecuting it. And I'm also showing what is necessary in order to prosecute this. It is insufficient the way in which this system that's inherently corrupt, you're not going to have all the same rules in order to prosecute this. I don't care what demon provides testimony against the entity itself. It does not matter. You engaged in what is an unfathomable violation of one's human rights, aside from conspiring to murder and kidnap one and psychologically destroy them. You tried to murder their mind and their body. You are going to be prosecuted as surely as you see those psychopaths flying in circles over this apartment building. And that is, again, the demon-possessed gang stalker that is monitoring as an entity. And as I know you by name, I'm documenting you. I hope you understand that. As I've already exposed your identity, your address, your phone number, your image, I document you by name. I've already been your presence. I know you. I had a personal relationship with you. I'm documenting you. You're going to prison. And your co-defendants, they're the ones that are helping you get in exactly where you belong. And this is disincentivizing any gang stalker in the United States. If you're going to help the government, you think you want to go in on gang stalking, think again, because they're going to prison. It is currently 12:43 p.m. where the fake son is going to remain here 9 minutes later. And that is in defiance of nature, speaking to the pattern of conduct that I clearly documented on video, because this fake son is over the top of my head at my apartment, 1806 North Alvarado Street. in Los Angeles, California, 90026, as I'm standing on my patio and I walk into my apartment. Alvarado Street, apartment number 6 on the 3rd floor. This is P.O.C. That's Amazon Prime, which is the people of the state engaging in the sex offense and engaging in what is terrorism, which is practicing demonic and ritualistic methods of targeting someone. And those are demons that are just operating a commercial vehicle, okay? The same exact impossible engagement at what is an ongoing coincidence. They're engaged in a pattern. Okay. That's engineer light that's on my ceiling. This is engineer light that's on the ceiling. This is the same pattern of engineer light inside of the apartment while the demons are stalking with an ongoing chorus and an ongoing chorus of amplified noise. The residents are gang stalking. The residents are engaging in psychological torture, and these demons are engaging in an ongoing campaign in the spiritual and spiritually attacking while they're physically gang stalking. And you are going to prison for that. I don't have to be in front of Shanita Ramaya McClain in order to prosecute her. She was gang stalking me then, and she's still gang stalking now. It's a statewide effort. And she's gang stalking with the police. She's gang stalking with the city of Ontario. She's gang stalking while I stay inside of this apartment. Understand how those facts work? While the entity thinks it's going to continuously gang stalk and there's some individualization of the pattern of conduct. No, you have all targeted together and you're all going to be prosecuted together. That's P.O.C. All right, the video you just listened to is what I captured today, which is April 1st, 2025. And the video that I captured is showing the presence of the fake sun, and I'm comparing it again to what happened on the same day in 2024, as you are not only recognizing for the public benefit of the serving the public good with regard to sharing the criminal pattern of conduct, and it's educating about the demonic environment that surrounds you, because this is satanic, this is exposing demonic activity, this is exposing demon possession, and it's also pointing directly to public corruption by the government that's engaging in surveillance, and it's a crime that's committed by the government, and the government is acting through the people. The government can't do what it's doing with regard to criminal surveillance without the people, and that's also shown through the pattern of conduct. So the significance of the fake sun being over me, it's with regard to the highly illustrative ability to prosecute the whole state, as I am showing you what LAPD, what the city of Los Angeles, what Karen Base, what the state of California, what the U.S. government is doing, gang stalking, engaging in domestic terrorism and psychological torture, as I'm in Los Angeles, inside of my apartment, in the living room, and then going to my front door, where from 10:37 a.m. until 12:51 p.m., the fake sun, as a matter of video evidence, does not move anywhere. And as you see it outside my living room window, it's not also outside of, on the side of the opposite side of the apartment building, which would be facing Alvarado Street, because the sun that is not maintaining this ongoing simultaneous. That would mean we're all in the same position. So I'm looking at the sun that's on a very exclusive part of the building as I'm inside of my apartment, meaning if you see the wall, you see the roof over my window. That's speaking to the fact that it's not on the opposite side over Alvarado Street. And I'm referencing my apartment building in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens. It's not over IKEA in Costa Mesa, while it's over the top of my head, and I'm looking outside of my living room window in Los Angeles at 10:37 a.m. and you are looking at light that's inside of my living room, because the demons rely on the illusion that that's the sun you're looking at, and that's all sun, therefore that's sunlight. And that's why the entity also engages in the very illogical act of covering up the fake sun, and then it's a cloudy day. But then you also have what is also illogical, the same exact peculiar character of the gray colored engineered light, because on a cloudy day there is no concentrated light that's still going to, with a gray color, pierce through a peephole or create what is concentrated light in the same way that it is when the fake sun is shining, and that same light, that same character of light is just in a different color. It's bright orange and yellow, or amber when that fake sun is still at the same location and it's then quote unquote setting. This is the highly illogical system where you're recognizing federal group stalking and monitoring. And while the rest of the country is witnessing the exposure of Satan, who embodies people, okay, this is demon possession, demonic activity, criminal conduct, federal group stalking and monitoring, it's surveillance that's happening throughout the country. And it's exposing an unprecedented, an unprecedented level of public corruption. This isn't just public corruption within the mayor's office. This is public corruption with regard to the state of California. And every gang stalking mayor is thereby exposed. What the system, how the system is operating in the state. And it is directly pointed and identified by the environment that defies nature and the behavior of the malicious psychopaths, not private citizens who are minding their business and are ignorant about what you're doing and who you are. And the entity that engages in that whole play, that whole stage, all the acting that's going on, the poor acting, the malice, in other words, is how that's prosecuted. The malice of gang stalking someone and doing so via residents that are at the community where you live or your neighborhood or wherever. The gang stalking by a population that's surrounding you systematically. And the pattern of conduct is existing within that environment that's designed to maintain surveillance. That's malice. And that is also pointing directly to the demented mind state, the psychopathic mind state of those who are demon possessed. And as you're prosecuting a government, as you're looking at the figures here, you're talking about a lot of people. You're talking about a tremendous government system. It's exposing a national security threat, essentially. You have a lot of ticking time bombs, crazy people that are walking around without a criminal record, no way to identify them, no way to point out what a threat they are. And it's shown while the police engage in gang stalking on video, which I captured today. Again, the gang stalking police officers represent the population with the same psychopathic mind state. What's so dangerous about gang stalking police is that they bear badges representing authority that they don't have. And they are bearing weapons and representing a threat to American citizens while their severely demented mind state, which gives them a false sense of power and authority, which is also out of control. The ability to control themselves is shown through the pacing conduct, is shown through the obsessive gang stalking, while they're also aware that their embarrassing, sexually violent, and demented criminal conduct is a matter of published documentation, which then causes them to go into more of a frenzy and they start pacing more and more, which is what I captured on video. It's going directly to the demented mind state, and those who are gang stalkers are psychopaths. The criminal conduct is literally the material to diagnose it, to address it, to expose it. And it's also that which is serving the public good with regard to that national security threat that you are subject to and you don't even know about it, with regard to the absence in the narrative in this country and around the world that the United States is engaged in terrorizing its own citizens. The United States is engaged in terrorizing its own citizens with those that have been granted the privilege to be in the country, which apparently includes gang stalking those that are in this country. And that's a part of the so-called American dream. That's a part of the blatant disregard of the Constitution that they're supposed to be taught to honor and respect. This is, again, the hypocrisy at an unprecedented level as you're getting to those that are engaging in the pattern of conduct and the malice of that pattern of conduct and the inexplicable and illegitimate character of that pattern of conduct. It's exposing the federal government. Okay. And those that are in that are engaging in that. The pattern of conduct, they're still engaging in what is the psychological warfare. That's the spiritual component. That's the invisible component regarding what it is that's proven. The government is stalking. The government is engaging in surveillance, which you are also subject to. I'm subject to an ongoing attempt on my life. The entity that is engaged in surveillance is targeting me with the concentrated effort of seeking to psychologically torture in order to criminally defame, in order to kidnap and murder, to result in ultimate loss of life, where they also want to steal my property. There are things and property that belongs to me that the entity has already stolen and destroyed, and property that the entity does not want to relinquish and give to me, which I am the rightful owner of, that the entity sought to conceal from me. And that remains the case by the same gang stalking entity that is still also simultaneously maintaining an ongoing campaign regarding psychological warfare. That happens in the mind of the targeted individual who is being spiritually attacked by the same demons who are gang stalking. Their demon possession is proven through their criminal pattern of conduct. So it is no imagination, and I'm not making up anything that I haven't already provided the foundation for, the fact that the mentally ill psychopaths who are gang stalking in malicious manners that are not supposed to be proven, I have not only proven that, I'm speaking to the entity that is maintaining a campaign. The demon possessed that are gang stalking are the demon possessed that are engaging in what is psychological warfare that no one is ever supposed to speak of and no one is ever supposed to be able to even describe. You don't get to this point in the evidence where you could ever have a platform where you can stand and with a straight face and maintain what is your dignity and your full sanity and speak to the fact that you are being targeted and you are not suffering from mental illness while you speak of such things. This is what an entity does, though. The demon possessed do while you are conditioned with regard to propaganda, misinformation about actual mental illness, and those who are in fact mentally ill in ways in which are not addressed because of the corrupt system that is in operation systematically throughout this country, which is then going towards why laws that are unconstitutionally vague and actually they're flat out wrong. You do not have actually mental illness when the government is creating circumstances to psychologically torture someone that would act out, which was what any human being that's subject to this stalking system, this gang stalking and psychological torture by a whole entity is reasonably expected to do. That's not mental illness. That's a human being that acts out in one way or another that cannot be calculated. But it is reasonably anticipated. I represent the exception. The entity didn't get the creation of that illusion, and that's how the entity engaged in what is blatant criminal conduct by making up. They just made it up. As fake as the fake sun. They just made it up, and the entity uses an illusion to adjudicate in corrupt gang stalking courts in the state of California. And everybody that participated in that are going to prison, including government actors who think if they've provided testimony exposing this corruption, they didn't do it because they're avoiding prosecution. I remain subject to an unconstitutional and inhumane pattern of conduct that is not only physically proven, as I'm documenting with tangible evidence. Psychological warfare is that which is speaking to government action that the government shall be liable for. It is harms that cannot be quantified. It is harms that's designed to literally destroy a human being in ways in which you cannot measure, ways in which are intangible. That's speaking to what is unfathomable harms. Harms that cannot be given immunity away from. You're not granted any immunity, especially while I'm still subject to it. And so I want to be clear, the entity is still targeting, the entity is still gang stalking, and the entity is going to criminally and civilly pay for that engagement in that P.O.C. And the government is permitting it. The government is facilitating it while my evidence is being suppressed online. There is no position of partnership with the federal government that first initiated this unlawful and inhumane experiment on me. There is no companionship. There is no I would say camaraderie that's going to result from this. The government has no legitimate interest to, under any circumstances, for any amount of time, continuously engage in it and permit it to continue. I want to be clear, gang stalking for purposes of committing murder and psychologically torturing to defame and kidnap is an illegitimate government program, illegitimate interest. It's unconstitutional and inhumane for the government to engage in and facilitate federal group stalking and monitoring, to suppress evidence, to permit it to go on for any amount of time is unconstitutional and inhumane, and it is an illegitimate interest by the government where it would claim that it's doing so in order to provide some sort of opportunity to the so-called targeted individual that has proven their case, to permit some sort of formally documented terrorist and sex offender associated with the targeted individual in order to permit a way back into their personal life, which is impossible when that targeted individual, by the way, I'm referencing myself, has already openly voiced the fact that, and no American citizen that's subject to the system is going to be forced in the same manner. You don't have to speak to any gang stalker. That's what's wrong with these demons, forcing themselves on you, stalking you obsessively while they are deluded in their mind because they're demon obsessed. They are the ones that are sick in their minds trying to force themselves on you, and it is an illegitimate government interest while that pattern of conduct is underway. The federal government has no interest in who is in my social circle. The government's job is to prosecute, and here it's to prosecute itself for the inhumane criminal act that it first initiated. Permitting it to go on for any amount of time, that is going to be the substance of a prosecution of the federal government. I'm going to prosecute. The entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct is admitting to it when it is stating that it's some sort of reward or whatever it is that psychopaths think that you're interested in when you are interested in justice, when you are interested in being kept from stalkers and sex offenders and predators. That includes the government actors themselves who would like to esteem themselves differently, but they're not. They're in the same specific environment. They're engaged in the same voyeurism. They're engaged in the same sick pattern of deriving pleasure from watching someone else suffer while they call it something else. All they're doing is calling it some sort of program, some sort of confirmation of it's federal group stalking and monitoring. It's where demons sit around targeting and psychologically testing someone that's a human being, not a lab rat. And there remains no legitimate government interest under any circumstances for any reason. And federal federal officials that engaged in it, the pattern of conduct. I want to be clear. The entity that is providing any sort of immunity, because I'm jumping, I am anticipating anybody that thinks that they're going to provide testimony and this can disincentivize. I really don't care. I'm prosecuting. I don't negotiate with terrorists. There is no negotiation. There will be no NDAs. I'm not going to compromise with you. I'm going to enforce my rights. The entity that permitted police departments to gang stalk me because the U.S. government has no business in engaging in this system in the first place, I'm going to prosecute you for what is an initial wrong that lies with you. And there is no provision of testimony that's going to provide shelter from what justice requires. Period. You're not avoiding what is federal prison. You're not avoiding being removed from whatever agency where you were engaging in this criminal system. You're not avoiding that. At the very most, you're avoiding less of a penalty, but the penalty remains. You are not under circumstances of terrorism for purposes of murder and psychological torture, trying to treat human beings like animals. You are not getting out of that. The entity is still engaging in psychological warfare while obsessively gang stalking, and the pattern of conduct is already proven and fully exposed. These diaper-wearing demons stalking in helicopters, showing how obsessed they are with me, having no legitimate. Why aren't you concerned about your wife and your boyfriend, your dogs, your newborn baby? No, you're obsessed with my genitalia and the time that I'm waking up inside of this apartment. You're obsessed with me. And then you're hostile because I'm prosecuting the fact that you're obsessed with me, which your wife should be concerned about. But she's a demon as well. You're both gang stalkers in Ontario. The entities engaged in this pattern of conduct, and the federal government is the one who is going to be prosecuted for it. Understand how the intricacy of the pattern of conduct is speaking to you're prosecuting at every level. The people of the state are being prosecuted. But the entity that's gang stalking in the city of Ontario, this is a statewide effort, which I've already shown. Ontario, San Bernardino County, with Los Angeles County. That's speaking to a pattern of conduct which is illustrated in an environment that defies how nature works. This is impossible that this could be the sun. That is key to what is recognizing a whole crime scene where a pattern of conduct, a common rhyme or scheme remains underway on an ongoing basis, a specific code of conduct, meaning they always engage in the same thing. In an environment where you're looking at that supernatural phenomenon, it's the P.O.C. And it doesn't change when the demons are being documented. So you'll have Satan cover up a fake sun, which is, again, impossible to erase from a record when you're subject to a prosecution in the natural. They're no longer just practicing witchcraft in secret where no one knows what they're doing anymore. I've dragged the demons and the witches and the warlocks out into the open under their fake sun to prosecute them and embarrass them. And I'm also going to call them out by name, department, and agency. Wherever you are gang stalking, you're done with whatever it is that you use to engage in targeting me. And no provision of immunity, no sort of unofficial offer. I'm not accepting any offers. If you come into my presence, you're going to be prosecuted. There is no delay in justice that's going to change that. You will never, by the way, common sense dictates, go from being a terrorist trying to murder me and having sex with everybody that I know, practicing satanic methods of ritualistic spiritual attacks, and then changing your mind because you're claiming and you're not changed. You're still engaged in gang stalking, including while you're practicing psychological warfare against me. And I'm prosecuting you and I'm still documenting you while the entity is gang stalking in Ontario. I'm still documenting you. You still remain a part of the pattern of conduct that the federal government remains responsible for, having no legitimate interest. Their job is to prosecute. That is their only job. Not only did I have to point out and prove the fact that the government is the criminal, now you have to instruct the government on how to execute justice as it is forced to stop what it's been doing. And you don't have a right to then commandeer and usurp authority over an American citizen with constitutional and human rights to not be subject to it. No stalker has any protection being in your presence, especially where you've already documented them. They're not holding on to any evidence or any information that the federal government that's doing its job, that's absolutely competent, doesn't already have. And that's already done my job that I need. So you will be a prosecuted stalker. You will be permanently restrained. Especially as you're some voodoo practicing a demon that is obsessed with me in the spirit and is gang stalking me, clearly obsessed with me as I prosecute you in the physical here on earth. This is what is so pathetic and what's so disgusting and despicable about what the U.S. government is doing. This is not name calling. This is an unprecedented, never before accomplished criminal pattern of conduct that the entity is being exposed for. And the national security threats are those that are literally in positions of government. That's what Paul Leon, Alan D. WAPNER, Mike Lorenz, the Ontario Police Department, a bunch of incompetent ignoramuses, okay, with spelling issues, comprehension issues, okay, they're intellectually inept, okay, they are clearly morally bankrupt. They clearly are more obsessed with me than they are with things that concern them and their lives. And literally the specific environment proves that. All of what's happening in the city of Ontario is focused on me because the whole fake sun. That's how you're able to identify that P.O.C. And this is also what you're juxtaposing with what's happening in the rest of the world. There's no sun in New York at 3:11 p.m. when it's sitting outside of Tracy Banks' front door over me, where you know it's not going to be in New York at any time because the sun is not over her front door in its zenith over the top of my head and also over you in New York, where you're looking at it when you're getting on the walking outside on the sidewalk toward the subway, toward town square, or wherever it is that you're at in the city of New York. We're not looking at the same thing in the sky space. I can't see the sky space, and the sun is not hovering over me and also over you. I'm showing this light source that's literally sitting directly above the roof of the I was going to say the vehicle. That's when I'm in my car. Sitting above the roof of the building itself. Okay, and even as you pay attention to the documentation, these ignoramuses are gang stalking under a fake sun that's now evolving from being over the roof of the building. Now it's directly over the top of the sidewalk. The entity is engaging. It's very ignorant. It's under all circumstances stalking, and the unintelligent demons who are being literally prosecuted under their fake sun. It's like putting a swamp light over the top of them. Those are all the defendants right there. Those are all the cockroaches. You're going to spray them with Raid. Okay, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. and the entity is doing so in an environment that is obvious. It is obvious and plain. And their mental illness is also made clear as well. Their criminal activity is also made plain as well. And their ongoing obsession. None of the things that the demons can hide. They can't hide it anymore. And it is literally tethered to the specific environment. Where you have hallmarks such as gang stalking, diaper wearing demons like the Ontario police, just like the Los Angeles police. Okay, as I'm showing you and juxtaposing those two videos. So I want to make sure that that's all clear. With regard to the pattern of conduct, the entity that's spiritually attacking me and under some illusion that they are helping, you are not helping. You are no friend. You are still serving Satan, and you will never be any sort of comrade of mine. The documentation of the P.O.C. shows exactly the threat that you are and that you remain, and that any ordinary targeted individual who is not in a position to prosecute and enforce their rights is not looking at some demon-possessed gang stalker or some demon that's torturing them in their mind as some sort of friend. You're not doing any favor, and the government maintains no legitimate interest in doing so for no reason. It's literally an omission. Where you claim, oh, this is what we have to give you as a part of, that's an illegitimate interest by the government. The government's job, I literally had to prove that the government had a job in the first place because I had to prove that the government was the criminal in the first place. That is something no human being should ever have to do, but it's done, and the government is still targeting, and the government maintains no legitimate interest, and the government is going to make the targeted individual whole, and the government will also be restrained. The government has no constitutional interest or right or authority to ever be in my presence. And every gang stalking demon by name that I already know, it's the same. And as I'm documenting the state, I'm documenting you. So this is your prize for gang stalking with the state. You're going to prison. That's where you're going. You're going to prison. And be reminded about the faces of those whose name I know, because I'm documenting them while the fake sun's remaining over me. There's no sun that's over Shanita Ramaya McLean in Encino, California. She's a gang stalker who I identified by name. She was also monitoring me with the state when I'm inside of my apartment, which is a private space. She is as malicious as Tracy Banks, who's doing the same thing as you see on a daily basis. That's what Shanita Ramaya McLean is still engaged in to date. Understand it's a statewide entity. I happen to know one of the demons within that entity. That her name is Shanita Ramaya McLean. She's going to prison. She's going to federal prison, and her impunity is hereby being documented while it remains subject to the same pattern of conduct that her co-defendant, Linda Reyes, is engaged in. Her co-defendant, the Ontario Police Department, are engaged in while she's seeking to obstruct justice, kidnapping me as an entity. Understand how you're going to prosecute the elaborate conspiracy of federal group stalking and monitoring. Everybody gang stalking is going to prison. If I know your name, prepare for prison. Okay? That's what you need to prepare for. The justice requires that. You're not getting away with conspiring to murder somebody and nobody cares that you didn't know that you were gang stalking and furtherance of committing murder. That's not how it works with regard to prosecution for crimes in the United States. If you don't want any of that smoke, I suggest you never get in that fire. And that's what the rest of the country and the world is going to recognize about terrorism in the United States. So unintelligent, diaper-wearing demons like the Ontario police, they continuously expose their co-defendants like Shanita Ramaya McLean in Encino, California, who's going to prison. As surely as those demons are flying over this apartment where I remain, and she was gang stalking, she does not cease to be engaged in that criminal pattern of conduct. In the same way that they're still gang stalking, I just got that demon's name on the record. And she's been engaged in targeting me and making attempts on my life for a prolonged period. I've known this demon since the 3rd grade. Okay? She's been engaged in that P.O.C. for this in the same way that the state's been targeting me since I was a child. She's going to prison. So that's what I reminded you about when you will see the fake sun over me at 11 in the morning, and I'm showing you a screenshot of who's going to prison, who is still being documented. And as I capture video, who's still going to prison? Because this is what's happening in Los Angeles, where she was inside of my apartment and she was gang stalking me. And she is still gang stalking. You don't have to be in the presence of the whole entity. That's impracticable. That's the whole malice of federal group stalking and monitoring. Too numerous, and also it's supposed to be something that is is going to falsely depict the character of the one that would allege strangers are stalking them, and even your friends and your relatives are stalking them, that they have some sort of nefarious interest. You're proving that by the specific environment. You're proving that by the gang stalking government that uses planes and helicopters and police, fire, and ambulances. You're proving that by the obvious engagement and trying to defame somebody that you cannot defame. You cannot defame me, and none of my evidence is working in your favor. My evidence is going to create what is a diagnosis for your severe mental illness, for trying to target me in the first place. All right, the entity is maintaining an ongoing campaign. I want to be clear. And I documented the people that say this includes the psychopath Jason Isaac Fields, who is under some illusion that he is holding on to property that belongs to me and that has some sort of power in his hand. This is something that the government's going to be liable for. This is nobody that has any sort of evidence that I need from this sex offender, from this predator, from this psychopath, from this kingdom spouse of Tracy Banks. This is somebody that I have no relationship or interest in, is still practicing witchcraft, is still trying to spiritually attack me, is still gang stalking to date, and the government maintains no legitimate interest while that remains underway, and is still gang stalking in the physical. All right, this third party in particular, and if this is somebody that's a part of a law enforcement agency or ever was, he's done with law enforcement. You have sacrificed your career when you are engaging in domestic terrorism. And I prosecuted you and proved your engagement in it as I prosecute the state of California. You don't have a constitutional right, and no basis of no immunity, no testimony is avoiding prison. You're not avoiding that. And you certainly are being further exposed to what is a necessary means of restraining such an obsessed psychopath, a delusional freak that would think that they have any right or authority to be in my presence, which he doesn't. No documented gang stalker does. That's the malice of the gang stalkers by residents. They don't even have a right to be here. They're exploiting the Constitution. The entity is maintaining the elements of monitoring by the demons who are living at the venue. That's why they're going to prison and mental asylums. All right. The entity is gang stalking by holding out a water hose at 12:52 p.m. The fake sun is over my top of my head as I walk outside of my front door in Los Angeles. At the same time, you're understanding mental illness 101. That's somebody that's stalking me and hides behind props like a water hose, like Linda Reyes hides behind a broom and a dustpan. All they're doing is stalking as a population. And they are delusional, thinking that you're going to ignore that which is the key identifying factor, the supernatural environment. Not only are they not ignoring it, they're honing in on it. The fake sun is pointing directly to your malice. And then they're looking at how you conduct yourself, speaking to how psychotic you are, how obsessed you are, because you return every day. Like domestic terrorism is just going to be overlooked in this country, and it's not. You're exactly the material, the billboard for prosecuting murderous, bloodthirsty psychopaths who are sacrificing American citizens with a corrupt government. It's a part of a whole experiment on American citizens that are unsuspecting and that are ignorant about what they're subject to, the nature of that malicious system, and how it wants to literally deconstruct you, your mind, your identity, and you as a person. That level of an attack on a human being, you're going to prison for that. And while you're gang stalking by looking to the opposite direction, the fake sun is over my head, the entity is gang stalking by helicopter, and you're looking like you're going to be prosecuted for that. And everybody in units 33 through 64, they are gang stalking in the same way that Shanita Ramaya McLean is, as a part of the statewide pattern of conduct. It's the same with Jason Isaac Fields. And there is no provision of testimony or evidence that would help prosecute that's going to remove the penalties. You are engaged in terrorism. No terrorist is getting off with not suffering any consequences. And no terrorist is ever going to be permitted outside of the consent of the target individual to be in their presence in order to further threaten them. You don't have control over the psychological harms that are inflicted by gang stalking, and then you're going to be in their presence, having the audacity to engage in it as though you have this is asininity. This is absurdity. And this is, again, the ego-driven psychopaths who are gang stalking, Satan himself. And this is putting everybody in their proper places with regard to who you actually are and who you are not. What you have authority to do and what you don't have authority to do. What you have the power to do and what you don't have the power to do. Whoever you thought you were. The prosecution of the state of California is putting that in proper perspective. Legally and spiritually. So demons that are targeting, Shanita Romain McClain, this demon is still spiritually engaged in warfare, and she's also a documented gang stalker. She's still gang stalking, as the city of Ontario is proving is going on statewide. And I have you by name. I'm prosecuting you. And whatever else you did on the record, if you help this psychopath that paces around butt naked to monitor me in the kitchen, you're going to prison. Okay? You're going to prison. I know your name already. You're already, again, that's mandated federal prison. You represent a higher threat. You don't have to be in my face anymore to gang stalk me. I will now prosecute you at a distance. The entities engaged in this pattern of conduct by Jason Isaac Fields. This is a demon that's engaged in ongoing psychological warfare. This is a demon that's using witchcraft. It's failing, albeit still engaging in what is gang stalking, as that psychological component remains underway while demons are gang stalking, like I just captured on video right now. He remains a threat. He remains engaged in what is psychological warfare, while gang stalking, which is psychological torture and the physical that I've already proven, remains underway. This is nobody that has any lawful authority under any circumstances, nor is that ever going to be consented to by the person that is prosecuting him. The government is not in a position to speak on the behalf of the one that you are stalking me. This is something that the government, again, this is the inability to actually understand the government's position and status. The government is the stalker. As the stalker, you're not then in a position to say, well, I'm going to stalk you in presence. No, you don't ever have that position. And this is the entity that is, again, that's accustomed to abusing authority. If Jason Isaac Fields is somebody that's in a position of government at any point, he is done, permanently done. I'm going to be clear. This is somebody that has multiple personalities. This is somebody that was likely engaging in what is the use of witchcraft, spiritually attacking the mind of the one whom he doesn't have any spiritual authority to do that. So any witchcraft that was used to try to attack my mind, trying to bring on some sort of mental insanity, that's what's wrong with Jason Isaac Fields. That's what's wrong with him. He is exhibiting severe mental instability while he's engaged in a defeated effort of psychological warfare, while he is still gang stalking as I'm prosecuting him at a distance. And this is someone, if having a position in government, he is done with law enforcement for any federal agency or any gang stalking police department. These cockroaches in California that are gang stalking. He's done with that. He's permanently done, and his mental illness is a disqualification. I'm showing you, as the demon possessor engaged in this gang stalking, you're aware of no longer is their mental illness closeted, and it is a disqualification from being in law enforcement. And I want to be clear, this demon that relies on witchcraft, he is mentally ill. He is delusional. He's exhibiting severe mental instability while he is still targeting in the spirit. And while he is still gang stalking me, that's what the government is doing still to date, as I've proven, capturing more documentation of the specific environment that is there because of the criminal pattern of conduct. It's not in Ontario over at a distance where it would be seen, for example, near Montclair, where I would be walking toward what would be G Street, for example, to get the fake sun at a distance away. No. It's remaining directly over me, over the top of my head. The entity is still gang stalking in an environment that is irreconcilable with nature, that's speaking to the intent to maintain this illusion with regard to what is stalking with engineered light, while a bunch of cockroaches are pacing. All they're doing is monitoring all day long, just monitoring all day and all night. Psychopaths looking to the left, holding a water hose, walking to the car, putting something in the car, opening and closing their car. All they're doing is stalking with noise, stalking in the path, stalking with planes and helicopters, stalking with the tremendous sound of train. You cannot hear the Union Pacific Ontario train and anywhere over the asininity. Speaking to the severe mental instability. And this is what, again, this terrorist, this documented sex offender, who is a predator. He is a sexually perverted mind. He also has a severely demented mind, a disturbed mind. He is also delusional. This is somebody that has no authority under the law either. This is somebody that represents a liability to the government, having no legitimate interest under any circumstances whatsoever. You are not benefiting the targeted individual to keep them subject to the pattern of conduct and then claiming that it was for their benefit for some other situation that nobody is soliciting anything other than justice. That's it. And the government doesn't get to change the agenda. The government is always the one that remains in the wrong. The government is the one that is learning what it shall do and shall not do under laws that actually exist. The entity is doing so, and I want to be clear that is known about Jason Isaac Fields. This is no friend or no partner of mine. He's actually Tracy Banks' sex partner. He's actually Tracy Banks' kingdom spouse. Okay, that's his witch wife. That's what Jason Isaac Fields is, and he's severely sick in his head, as I am literally able to discern that, while this demon is still spiritually obsessed with me, still spiritually attacking me, okay, while I'm subject to the pattern of conduct. That's relevant to how he's going to be prosecuted, how the government's going to be prosecuted, because this is what a government is doing when they're running these experiments on human beings. They're engaging in satanic methods of attacking you, which is supposed to cause literally the disintegration of your mind, and also they're gang stalking you in the physical in ways which are demonic, which defy how the natural environment operates. And what's the purpose of that? So that you would assert things that cannot be proven, that have never been heard of, that are supposed to be something that you're hallucinating about, something that you are imagining, that you're paranoid about. This is the entity that seeks to engage in criminal defamation and murder and kidnapping. Okay, that's the purpose for demons targeting you, both in the spirit, psychological warfare, and physically, i.e. gang stalking. Gang stalking is, other words, I want to be clear, it is both the psychological component in your mind, and also actually in your mind where it's not you. Your mind is not, there's nothing wrong with your mind, and the entity is attacking your mind. And also you are physically being attacked, where you're being gang stalked in the physical. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's clear, and this is what is underway, and I'm reminding you about that entity that's being documented while I'm publishing the evidence online, while I'm publishing what is the specific environment, the criminal conduct, the people of the state whose name I know, every gang stalking so-called family relative, Eric Corey Spencer, he's going to federal prison. I'm being gang stalked by him. He's a part of the same entity. Very malicious in gang stalking. By the way, he is a documented gang stalker, kidnapper, engaged in criminal defamation, criminal summoning with the same demons who are flying in circles under a fake sun that's still going to be here after 5:30 p.m. That's Eric Spencer's documented engagement in criminal summoning with this demon, Tracy Banks, pacing around in the kitchen with no pants on, a psychopath. And so is Eric Corey Spencer, still engaged in what is psychological warfare, engaged in what is targeting me, in which the entity sought to collectively falsely depict my character in a corrupt courthouse, where the entity is engaging in a campaign of psychologically targeting in the spirit and gang stalking in the physical. And that's the whole purpose of this demonic system of federal group stalking, monitoring. What's actually going to happen? I'm going to call out demons, the demon possessed. I'm going to call out the fact that they worship Satan, and they're engaged in what is a defeated effort of spiritually attacking me while they've been given over to Satan. I'm also going to prosecute you in the physical. You're going to prison while I'm documenting you at a distance, while you're living in Oakland, California, shacked up with your girlfriend. She's gang stalking, calling on the phone with Tracy Banks, your mom, your gang stalking mother, who strips down clothes. That's not helping you in your federal case. Speaking to the psychopath that you are as well. Gang stalking with somebody the likes of that. Gang stalking with demons that are going berserk in a frenzy, flying in circles in helicopters in an environment that is irreconcilable with nature, including while a fake sun is over them in Oakland, California. This is speaking to the fake sun, speaking to public corruption, while I am subject to that P.O.C. in that specific environment. Eric Spencer's going to federal prison. And any criminal defamation that he participated in maliciously and intentionally, he's going to prison. As surely as I'm documenting that, and as surely as you hear me stating these words, and these defeated demons are still engaging in what is unsuccessful spiritual attacks. They serve Satan, and everyone needs to know that these are psychopaths. But it will be a matter of their criminal records, so that you know the ticking time bombs. If and whenever Eric Spencer gets out of prison. But I just want to be clear, those are just some examples. The entity that's targeting is exposing itself, and the entity is doing so with regard to what is going to be the prosecution of the government. They're sacrificing their careers. You're done with the medical field in any way you engaged in kidnapping, facilitating this P.O.C., criminal defamation, etc. Anyway, you're done with the medical field. You're done with law enforcement. You're done with the legal profession. You are done with regard to keeping your liberty while you engage in gang stalking by working with me, by living near me, by repeatedly being documented. You're a delusional psychopath to engage in that. It's not going to be tolerated. You're going to prison. And your criminal conduct is going to serve to have you diagnosed for actual mental illness, which is evidence that is tangible, as opposed to the entity that gang stalks you and engages in a malicious pattern of conduct that's supposed to just make you look crazy. That's not actual mental illness. That's called domestic terrorism and psychological torture. And that's the malice of the entity that is indeed gang stalking. And I am prosecuting the entire entity. I have identified those who are in my life that I intentionally ceased communication and contact with, and they are being documented to date. It doesn't change. And you don't cease to engage in that pattern of conduct. This is what is disincentivizing ever engaging in that pattern of conduct. This is what is disincentivizing doing anything other than reporting the gang stalking entity. You report it. You don't participate in it. You don't facilitate it. You report it, and that is the only basis of being removed from prosecution. If you testify against the entity, you will only receive what is less of a penalty, but you're not avoiding it because of the wages, the threat, the unconstitutional and inhumane threat of against the life of a targeted individual whose mental health is threatened. But it's not mental illness in the way that the entity seeks to criminally defame. It's not mental illness. It's that which you're subject to an attack to the degree that you are then questioning your own sanity. You're contemplating, should you take your own life? You're questioning your own identity. You're questioning, well, what is my thought and what are theirs? And are these people trying to hurt me? And I don't want to live anymore. And there's nothing worth to live for. And you're scared of everyone and everything. That is something that no American citizen should experience. And it is designed to take a person out, to take them apart. And you have sickos that are making videos on YouTube, calling themselves even Christians, calling themselves prophets. You're no prophet. And I want to be clear, you are not actually walking with Christ when you're engaged in any mode of voyeurism. You are sitting around by permission and mandated by the government, watching the pattern of conduct underway. You are a sicko and you're not a prophet. When you're sitting around watching and anticipating what's going to happen, when you're getting messages from these demons whom you're hearing from in the spirit, you're not a prophet. You are not a prophet while you're sitting around watching, sending subliminal messages from this corrupt entity. You are not a prophet. When you serve Satan and you're giving messages, that's not prophecy. That is a term exclusive to those who know Christ and who bear revelation by the Holy Spirit of God, the Spirit of truth, who is never tricked or deceived or is receiving messages from Satan. You are not a prophet. And all of you who are monitoring know exactly who I'm talking to. I'm talking directly to you. None of you are prophets. It is currently, again, 1:33 p.m. It's April 1st, 2025. This is prosecution, a comprehensive prosecution, because the pattern of conduct is underway on the venue of the internet. The entity is engaging in what is a sick system of voyeurism. The entity is engaging in what is witnessing its exposure, and then is engaged in what is simultaneously suppressing the evidence online. This is all going to the prosecution of the state. And then the stalker itself is engaging in what is exhibiting mental illness as though it's going to, as the stalker, control the rights of that targeted individual that has prosecuted them and exposed them. You are not going to then be in the presence, and there's nothing that the target individual, myself, needs from you. And I'm representing the ordinary target individual on whose behalf I would also be representing. No, you are not. You don't have any evidence or property that you've unlawfully and fraudulently maintained from some sex ritual where you thought you were going to obtain whatever riches you got. No, you're turning it back over and more, plus interest. Everything that you gained from every sex ritual you participated in. All of you demons that were sleeping together. All of you demons that fused genitalia together with my family member, with those that I formerly saw, all of you sickos, all of you perverts that engage that together, whatever it is, benefits that you thought that you derived from permanently, it's temporary. You're handing it back over. I'm going to prosecute you with that evidence of that incentive given by the corrupt government, by whom and with whom you are still gang stalking me. Understand, you're going to prison. All right, it is currently 1:34 p.m. and the comprehensive nature of the pattern of conduct of the surveillance system. The entity is engaging in voyeurism while the internet, the social media community is engaged in and is creating even content which is speaking to this system that I remain subject to, while the entity is at the same time, I'm not getting any views. The entity is, again, not giving what is the ability to have the system exposed, but still subjecting me to it. And the entity is very much aware of that, speaking to what is the spiritual realm, the demons who are watching in the spirit, the demons who are engaged in monitoring. Okay, I'm prosecuting the pattern of conduct. I'm prosecuting for the psychological warfare that is the invisible, that is the spiritual component to federal group stalking and monitoring, and it is encompassed in what is the highly punitive consequences for gang stalking based on the relationship, based on the status. Gang stalking police officers, prison. Gang stalking police officers that like to pace around, mental asylums. Okay, the entity that repeatedly engages in the pattern of conduct while you're documented on more than one occasion, like the gang stalkers of RGS, like the gang stalkers of AVANATH employees, they're going to prison. You have no protection. You are wide open and exposed, and I'm going to prosecute you at every angle, every point of vulnerability. I'm prosecuting you. It is currently 1:36 p.m. This is P.O.C. speaking to, again, the psychopaths that are not only gang stalking, they are speaking to what they're gang stalking because they are obsessed. They are obsessed and obsessively watching me because they are demon possessed. This is speaking to the inferiority of Satan and the wannabe God that Satan is. His spirit is animating the demon possessed who are gang stalking. That is why you have strangers who are gang stalking, in fact. And why are you stalking someone? You're stalking someone because you're obsessed with them. Why are you gang stalking? Why are you stalking someone that you don't know or that you're related to, for example, in ways in which you anticipated or calculated would never be able to be proven? It's so malicious, it's so demonic, it's so supernatural, it's so outside of what the average person has ever heard of or could recognize, that person that you're stalking, and that you are proven to be stalking, that means the person that you're obsessed with, whom you're stalking, is supposed to be falsely depicted as the one that's obsessed when you're the one that's obsessed. While you're projecting your condition onto the person that you're stalking, in other words, that's because they're demon possessed. Understand how it's all speaking to their condition that the demon possessed don't want you to know about. Satan doesn't want you to know about. The P.O.C. is serving for your ability to be informed about the reality of Satan, about the reality of demon possession, about the reality of demonic activity as it is being prosecuted. And it is the prosecution of the U.S. government that's gang stalking in the state of California. And it is the U.S. government's pattern of conduct, because this pattern of conduct is underway in every other state, because there's no sun that's going to be over anyone in New York at the same time. It's 4:37 p.m. in New York. What you're looking at in the sky space on April 1st, 2025 is not the same light source that's over Tracy Banks' front door. That's the cause of any light that's across Tracy Banks' ceiling and across her east living room wall. That's causing any sunlight underneath the covered structure of her patio. That's causing any light that's crawling across all her ceilings and walls on the inside like humongous-sized cockroaches and across the floors. That's engineered light. That's not the sun, nor is that the sunlight, and we're not looking at the same thing. Nor can you see the sun that's in the sky space in California, and neither can I see the sun that's in the sky space in New York. And this is exposing the cockroaches who are the demon possessed, who are engaging in a system of terrorism throughout the United States. And they're highly unintelligent. And you're going to witness me prosecute at every vulnerable area. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm executing. And I'm going to execute with regard to what are my constitutional rights and laws that shall come into existence and laws that must change based on what the U.S. government is doing. It is currently, again, 1:38 p.m. This is P.O.C. 42 p.m. as you can see on April 1st, 2025. And as I have pointed out, I'm going to go ahead and get video. The fake sun is outside of the apartment, and this is engineered light that has nothing to do with sunlight. This is the identification of a surveillance system. It is the evidence of what is a fake sun, however, while the entity is engaging in that. And this is what's happening on the same time in Los Angeles at AVANATH.
Oh, this is a group stalker while LAPD's crossing path in helicopter. Hi, this is P.O.C. Yeah, she's going to federal prison. That's P.O.C. That's crossing path in close proximity, not coincidentally. That's simultaneous conduct, that simultaneous presence. Remember, on the engineered light, demon stalk in the path with light. That's amplified audible activity while she's turning in a rent check, okay? Under light source, it's 1:43 p.m. The light source remains directly over me. The entity is maintaining the light source over me, which is what you saw was directly over my apartment, and then it remains directly over.
Not only is it over me like it was earlier in the video that I captured, and on this day in 2024, it's outside of my living room window at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6 at 10:37 a.m. That's facing the hillside in Los Angeles at that apartment complex. And then I go downstairs to my office, and the entity is keeping the fake sun over me. This is throughout the course of the day. Even that duration of time is speaking to the P.O.C., but I maintain a body of evidence. And the entity that has the fake sun over my head here in Los Angeles, as you can see at the top right here, this is what I'm pointing out above, at 1810 North Alvarado Street, it's over my head in the same way. This is a mutual zenith that's over apartment number 41 and 45. That's not over apartment 1810, the building at North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California, and that's clearly shown. It's also not reflecting off of windshields while it's over at the same time of year, and I'm showing you it's reflecting off of a windshield of a vehicle that's in Ontario, California. This is the entity whose criminal engagement and whose mental illness, because why would a police department be stalking a woman that has committed no crime? Why is a police department using resources? Why is a mayor and a fire department, a police department, a senior citizen complex, a citywide population, as I've shown the P.O.C. from city to city and county to county, engaging in this, and that is speaking to mental illness. This is indeed demon possession, which is shown through the environment that defies nature. The sun that's over 1810 North Alvarado Street at the same time is not creating any sunlight through the peephole or inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, which sunlight doesn't do that anyway. This is light that's bending underneath into structures, reaching into the depths of a building, which is an impossible occurrence. And you also know that this is the sun because on this day in 2024, the entity kept the fake sun over me. yesterday, the fake sun that's reflecting off of this vehicle, license 8VKP279, who's a gang stalker by virtue of this impossible occurrence, it is still here after 5:30 p.m., aiming in perfect alignment with me through this same patio glass door, while I'm showing you at the same time where LAPD is gang stalking like Ontario PD were in the video that I captured, while they're engaging in a grand exposition of impunity. Psychos that are so obsessed, they willingly sacrifice their career in law enforcement. They willingly sacrifice their liberty, their freedom, but they don't have any liberty to gang stalk as a police department. That's a police department that is engaging in what is domestic terrorism in order to commit murder and defame innocent American citizens, which is why they're gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments under a fake sun.
Over me while I'm at my office. Now, this third party is always on the grounds, group stalking by remaining present with the Monarchines. She's group stalking. I will remind you about her license plate, but I want you to look at this impossible light also. This is impossible light. It's just touching the surfaces. That's it. All you have to do is pay. All right, and that's she comes to come in close proximity, which is a presence by a demon who was stalking in the path at the specific environment. This is also documentation of impunity. Everybody at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison, and she is here visiting regularly and also just engaging in the pattern of conduct with LAPD. That's P.O.C. JEBKJC6. That's impunity. She's going to federal prison. And here's the light source that remains over me. If you'll recall my documentation at 1:45 p.m. on April 29, 2022, the light source is in this position that is in its zenith over my head while I'm standing in front of state facilitating venue of the Fontana Police Department, who were group stalking there. The sun is not over the Fontana Police Department, at the same time while I am in the city of Ontario. Also not the city of Ontario, but I'm currently in the city of Los Angeles. This is not occurring at the same time. This is the maintenance of a specific environment, and you're also looking at, again, the impossible light activity, which has nothing to do with the sun, has nothing to do with the placement of the light source. This is how you get what is light in the depths of hallways, right? Light that appears in the depths of hallways. This is how you get light that appears on my ceiling from you seeing the demon-possessed state actor. That is LAPD providing ongoing
The demon-possessed state actor, Ontario Police, providing ongoing corroborating evidence against the people of the state, who are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments under a fake sun that is at the same time, on the same day, 365 days ago, over me in the same manner, which is identifying federal group stalking monitoring by a state. To capture that phenomenon in one city is to document the state. To capture it within 2 cities and 2 counties and the pattern of conduct by those 2 cities and 2 counties is prosecuting the state. This is what the U.S. government is doing throughout the country. That's how you're able to have what is this supernatural occurrence, which is not in New York. This is not in New York, which is 3 hours ahead of us.
corroboration against the people of the state. It is sad. Building 1800 through building 1818, that's the whole property. They're all going to federal prison. Everybody that lives here is losing custody of their children. This is state surveillance, criminal surveillance, and they are engaged in a perpetual sex offense while they're also keeping me under surveillance inside of my private space. The government does not have a right to place an American citizen under surveillance directly. I will repeat it again. They cannot enter into my private space and place me under surveillance. They cannot remain in a helicopter and place me under surveillance. They cannot engage in parking outside in the parking lot or on the street on Alvarado Street and place me under surveillance. And they also can't do it vicariously through the people of the state who are surrounding demons, engaging in a demonic, ritualistic method system of group stalking and monitoring. You will not do it directly or vicariously, and that's why they're all going to federal prison. All the children that live here are going to be taken from the custody of the people of the state, engaging in this act of terrorism and state surveillance with the government, and it is also occurring within a pattern of conduct, and that's how you have at 1:45 p.m. the light source over my head in its zenith in the city of Fontana, where, by the way, that city of Fontana at the Fontana Police Department, that same location.
Obviously, this is not the Fontana Police Department either. This is documentation on April 29th. The Fontana Police Department are remaining on the record. They are being prosecuted while I prosecute the state of California, including while LAPD engaged in the same exact POC that Fontana Police Department are doing in a specific environment where the fake sun is over the Fontana Police Department at 1:45 p.m. The current time right now, while the fake sun is not over the Fontana Police Department, it is 1:49 p.m. And that's speaking to the identification of a facilitating venue where surveillance is underway, just like the Ontario Police Department, by the way, with the fake sun over my head at its department. It's already on the record.
I'm there.
Oops.
occurring within a pattern of conduct, and that's how you have at 1:45 p.m. the light source over my head and in zenith in the city of Fontana, where, by the way, that city of Fontana, at the Fontana Police Department, that same location, I'm there at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm there at 10 o'clock in the morning, for example, and the entity is maintaining its light source over me and its zenith. That's not the sun also when you look at it and analyze it from that vantage point. And you already know that the entity is maintaining the light source here at Alvarado Gardens from the beginning till the end of the day, which is what I captured at 7:09, 7:10 a.m., while the light source is rising in alignment to me, molesting me inside of my private space, while you're also looking at what's the sun rising in Upland, California. How is that? It's called the P.O.C. That's how. That's how. All right, and that is ongoing corroboration against the people of the state. Everybody, I don't care how old they are, they're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C.
Alrighty, that is the pattern of conduct. I just wanted to get that. This is what LAPD is doing with regard to that POC. And not only is the entity engaging in gang stalking under a fake sun that you can see over the top of my head, as I documented on this day in 2024, which is an environment that defies nature, because the sun that would be over me in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, specifically at that location in that manner in its zenith, that's a very specific position for the sun to be in, by the way. And we don't all experience that same mutual experience with regard to the same precise angle under the sun, no matter where you are, or no matter whether you're stationary or traveling, and no matter what direction you're traveling in, from the beginning till the end of the day. That's not the natural environment. And not only did I capture that, I captured this 147. Both of these are captured within this environment. So let me show you the pattern of stalking with engineered light that you are also familiar with. While the entity engaged in gang stalking today by the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario International Airport, and they're still doing so now, the entity just engaged in pacing in planes and helicopters to further confirm that they are indeed obsessed with me, that they are indeed engaged in gang stalking, they are indeed continuously to spiritually attack, maintaining a psychological warfare, which the demons have failed in. And they've also failed in gang stalking and trying to keep that a secret. This entire system has exploded, and it's imploding even while the entity is still targeting, and has lost in that effort to do so secretly, because that's the entity that wants to target you and wants to falsely depict you as being somebody that's paranoid, and it doesn't work when you prosecute it.
Sexual violence and harassment by an entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring in the workplace, okay? This is documentation of what is sexual violence. None of this is naturally occurring. This is that ongoing obsession to not only place under surveillance, but also to molest and offend and touch for a criminal purpose, all right? And it is something that is not even naturally occurring. The analysis is as follows. It's currently 1:47 p.m. A body of evidence already exists as to what the entity was surrounding me with when I was in an entirely distinct location. But again, over at the Fontana Police Department, which I'm still capturing video on April 29, 2022, that video was several minutes long, and at 1:47 p.m. I remain on the property of the Fontana Police Department. And there is no sun that's going to be over my leasing office in Ontario at 1810 North Alvarado Street.
And the same goes for there is no sun that's going to be over Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments, apartment number 51 in particular, or any apartment building. It would not be over Woodside apartments in Ontario at all. Not only is it over Woodside, it's over me at Woodside. And this is the case when you are looking at this video and I walk outside into the parking lot, and that fake sun moves as I move into the parking lot. You see, it's no longer over the building anymore. While I walk into the parking lot, it moves as I move to be over me in the parking lot. This is an entity that is stalking under a fake sun. The population is maintaining presence all around me on the ground and in the sky space, while the engineered environment remains around me. This is also what I document when I'm in my vehicle traveling about from city to city, from place to place. This is literally defying nature. That's not the natural environment. And it's also not the natural environment while it's still in this manner, in alignment to me, that is, after 5 p.m., which is what I documented yesterday evening, where you will see the evidence in this video. Oh, by the way, this is the fake sun today, this morning, which I want to document on video. Let me show you. Not only is it not the sun, the natural environment, as I'm documenting in this video on this day in 2024 at 1:47 p.m., because it's remaining outside of my living room window at 10:37, over the top of my head at my front door at 12:51. I go downstairs to my office at 1:42. LAPD's gang stalking on video. When I capture that documentation, I capture impossible light activity inside of my office, my shadow appearing at a distance away from me as I open up the door in shade. That's demonic. That's also a sexual act of molestation of my body, while demons who are obsessed with you, they violate you in ways that are supernatural. They are also doing so with the psychological component, spiritually attacking the one whom they are gang stalking in the physical. Okay, this is the entity that is gang stalking under a fake sun at Woodside Senior Apartments, and it's still here as I'm documenting in this video at 1:48 p.m. And as you know, after 5 p.m., I've documented after 6 p.m., but I'll just get what I got yesterday. After 5 p.m., where the entity kept the fake sun over me on this day in 2024, there was no deviation. The sun didn't continuously moving like the natural environment consists of. The sun is not sitting over an apartment over your head, wherever you live, over all of us, in other words. Speaking that there will be one sun per every person, that's ridiculous based on what the entity is doing with this fake sun. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct. You're looking at it. This is the position that it's in this afternoon when I walked into the parking lot. This is the same position. All I did was I walked out into the parking lot. But as you're looking at, while the entity keeps the fake sun moving from one side of the building to the opposite, this is at 4:42 p.m. This is what the entity was doing with the fake sun right now when I walked outside. This is what an entity is doing, stalking with the fake sun, and it's still here after 5:30 p.m., which is what I documented. And I'll go ahead and show you that. 5:30 p.m. This is essentially the same thing that I'm documenting as I walked outside right now into the parking lot, and the fake sun is over the top of my head as I walk out there. Hold on, let me. This is essentially the same location where it is in the morning. Well, it's excuse me, earlier in the day when the entity keeps the fake sun over the top of my head no matter where I walk. So as I walk to the same position out in that parking lot, that's where the fake sun is sitting in position, this same position that it is right now. This is where it's going to be as I documented at 5:30 in the evening yesterday, which is speaking to stalking by a population in a readily identifiable environment that defies nature. Okay, that's where the fake sun is, where it was right now during the course of this video. The entity is engaged in gang stalking as I documented on this day on April 1st, 2024 at what is 1:47 p.m. This is documentation of the entity that is engaged in the same P.O.C. This is what is illustrating the significance of gang stalking by police departments.
BUNI.
Like you see here, pacing on one side of the building in plane and helicopter.
Who are monitoring on my device. Well, you will see on April 1st, 2024, the entity is gang stalking while I'm living in Los Angeles, where there's no sun over my front apartment. I cannot hear the plane that's at that elevation, at that distance. This is the demonic environment. And you're looking at demons who are gang stalking commercial planes. Paul Leon is being removed from office. Gang stalking by Paul Leon is being removed from office.
That's the gang stalking police department, the gang stalking airport. Using planes and helicopters to engage in surveillance. They were already over this apartment building when I began capturing video. Then they engage in pacing and doing so in an environment where the fake sun is remaining over me. That's understanding the system of federal group stalking and monitoring. Okay, this is the entity that's doing so in an environment where this fake sun remains until the end of the day. Where you're looking at it at this location at this time of the day. This is where it's in the same position after 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's over this same tree. Just pay attention to the landmarks. This is the same thing that it's doing into the afternoon when it's reflecting off of windshields, and the entity is creating impossible light activity inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, as though the sun is that sort of object that both sits idle and reflects off of objects and causes supernatural light that shoots like a laser into buildings. So let me show you where the position of that fake sun is at 12:45 in that video that I captured. And you're looking at, it's going to be in what is the substantially exact same position to where it's reflecting off of a vehicle that's parked in the same parking lot at the same parking spot hours later, and it's the cause of light activity is supposed to be, oh, it's now reflecting off of a vehicle in the same parking lot over the same building. Highly illogical, highly unintelligent, highly asinine, highly demonic. Okay, this is an entity that never anticipated scrutiny of the satanic environment. All right, never anticipated what is being proven to be demons. This is the entity that is gang stalking 2:46 p.m. This is a fake sun that's reflecting off of the vehicles that are parked in the same parking lot, where you're looking at it as I walk out to this location at 12:45 p.m. Well, it's in a position to where it's going to be in the same exact position, reflecting off of a vehicle that it's above. And it's not in Los Angeles, while it's reflecting off of a windshield of a vehicle in the same parking lot, where both it's in alignment at 9:46 in the morning over the same building, substantially similar location, 12:45 p.m. like I documented today. And this is where the entity is gang stalking by stalking with light by the appearance. Understand, it's not actually the fake sun that's reflecting off of this vehicle that's causing light inside of Tracy Banks's apartment. This is breaking down what is supernatural. You're looking at it in front of your face. First of all, understand that. Under all circumstances, this cartoon environment is the prosecution for gang stalking. But you need to know what you're looking at is not actually necessary. The fake sun isn't necessary for the creation of this light activity inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. The demons that are gang stalking are always trying to maintain some sort of explanation, even as asinine and how much of a non-explanation it is, because the sun doesn't reflect and bounce like lasers off of objects. But this is what the entity is always trying to rationalize. That is to make carnal, make a physical explanation for what is absolutely supernatural.
Hey, this is the entity that is gang stalking by virtue of recognizing the specific environment. The entity that has the fake sun over the same apartment building, which it's substantially similar to where I documented it at 12, over the center of the apartment. And
for it to be reflecting off of this vehicle, just exactly what you saw today at 12:45 p.m. while I walked to the same parking lot, the fake sun would be in the same position. And this is where the entity is gang stalking by the residents inside of apartment number 55. This is a psychopath, and she's being diagnosed for her mental illness while she's engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct, and it's obviously one that is worthy of what is a raid, while all the cockroaches that are gang stalking, and obviously so, while it is underway under a fake sun that remains over the elderly in one specific building from the beginning until the end of the day, where the government is obviously gang stalking with them, using all manner of planes and helicopters and supernatural means of criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. Amplified plane, amplified train, amplified helicopter, even amplified elderly people walking around, and it's causing earthquakes. It's causing, like they're bowling inside of their apartments, like they're throwing their bodies around, like they're cracking the ceilings and the walls. That's speaking to psychological torture, and people are going to prison no matter how old and ragged you are. You and your swollen ankles are going to prison. All right. The entity is gang stalking while they're maintaining a noise level. And this is the light activity where they are being so noisy. That is the formula for criminal monitoring. This is what's happening.
this is speaking to the environment where a bunch of demons, as you can see me moving around and having multiple shadows. This is not sunlight. None of this is sunlight. And it's also speaking to what is not the sun, to be in a position to be reflecting off of the windshield.
And that's the same position. This is at 2:46 in the afternoon, where again, hours later, it's what is in a negligible, that's non-movement, 4 hours at 4:41 p.m. what I documented yesterday. It's in the same position that it was when I both walked into the parking lot, and it's also in the same position. You're looking at it reflecting off of the same vehicle. This is non-movement. This is the asininity of the demons who are gang stalking. Not only are they unintelligent, they're psychopaths. This is a whole comprehensive system that the federal government is going to be responsible for with regard to making the target individual whole, and with regard to being prosecuted for domestic terrorism and psychological torture, because you have the demon possessed that are abusing their positions in government, who are conducting these experiments on American citizens, and they will be prosecuted for it. No American citizen cares about the explanation. Nobody wants any excuses. It is irrelevant when your life is being hunted down, and the government shall compensate, and the government shall be prosecuted for it, period. All right, the entity is engaging in this while the pattern of conduct, you're looking at 5:30 p.m. That's a negligible difference from reflecting off of a vehicle at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the vehicle that's parked here, and the entity that's keeping the fake sun, and then it's over the same exact location after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 hours later, I'm looking at the same thing. And this is where I am. This is when you're understanding and looking at the bigger picture. This is the same thing when at 12:45 p.m. I walk outside. This is the chicanery, the nonsense, the asininity of gang stalking. When the let me go back here. When the entity is engaging in that P.O.C.
Speaking to their mental illness.
And I want you to see.
Leon is being removed from office. Not hear the plane that's at that elevation, at that distance. This is the demonic environment, and you're looking at demons who are gang stalking commercial planes. Paul Leon is being removed from office. Gang stalking by Paul Leon is being removed from office. Talking with the population, which is identified through a specific environment that defies nature, juxtaposed with the specific environment in Los Angeles on the same day
at the same time. And I want you to see it next to the tree where it's in the same position at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:46 specifically, when it's reflecting off of a vehicle in the exact same position. When it is in a negligible difference, that's the same thing at 5:30 p.m. when I'm capturing a picture of the same location. It's non-movement, where stalking is underway by a whole population and their demons. And their whole secret operation has been blown.
This is where the fake sun is still reflecting off of windshields, and that's what's happening after 2 p.m. The fake sun is in the exact same
That's the same position it's going to be reflecting at 2:46 p.m. That's the same position it's going to be when I am inside of the apartment, and at 4:42 p.m. I'm looking at that light source, and at 5:30 p.m. you're talking about what is still outside of the same patio glass door, and none of that is in Los Angeles, as I'm showing you what's over my head at 1:47 p.m. on this day in 2024. Okay, this is the asininity of stalking under a fake sun, and this is speaking to what is a federal raid. Okay, while the government is going to be, I'm literally blowing the whistle while the federal government itself is responsible for what is a statewide system. And so this is speaking to public exposure, public corruption, removing the infected demons that are in office in California, the infected demons that are in position in federal agencies that are facilitating and enabling federal group stalking and monitoring, as I prosecuted it in California and in the state of Nevada. Don't forget, at 12:08 p.m. on August 5th and August 6th, I'm driving from California to Nevada on August 5th, 2024, and I'm arriving after about 4 or 5 p.m. and the fake sun's remaining over me, where the entity is going to keep the fake sun in alignment to Tracy Banks's patio glass door in the evening. The entity is keeping the fake sun where I am capturing the fake sun that's remaining. And remember, August 2024, that's same time. We're in the same time. Daylight savings time, we are on. This is the same exact time. The entity is engaging in what is the idiotic system of keeping a fake sun from the beginning to the end of the day. So you're going to have a field day with a very easy prosecution when you have the evidence, understanding how gang stalking works and what it looks like. The entity is keeping the fake sun over me when I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, exiting Courtyard by Marriott at 12:08 p.m. I'm driving around on the roads and the highways in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm documenting license plates and the entity that's gang stalking Nevada State Police, who engage in criminal summoning both at my entrance of Nevada, Las Vegas, and at my exit of Las Vegas on the 15 freeway. They're engaged in criminal summoning both ways, while the fake sun is remaining over me in Nevada. There's only one. In addition to what is very obvious as well, there's no sun in this country over you on the East Coast. There's no sun over you in this country in the South. There's no sun over you on in Central California. Okay, the entity is engaged in a very obvious pattern of conduct, and it is satanic. And there is no making sense of what is this light activity in an environment where that illusion is serving for what is the reality of what is a massive federal prosecution. All right, and the entity's continuous engagement in that prosecution is literally the evidence of what is the mental illness of those that is not questioned. If you questioned whether there was some reasonable basis, maybe just to prosecute, not maybe, but to prosecute for the crime, but not necessarily the mental illness component, you are not questioning that reasonably. It is the pattern of conduct, and the pattern of conduct, the evidence of it is the very same material with regard to, and the expertise of actual legitimate professionals to diagnose mental illness, psychopathic in nature, highly malicious and psychopathic in nature. It is currently 2:07 p.m. on April 1st, 2025. This is P.O.C. Amazon Prime, just like you saw them gang stalking under the fake sun over the same parking lot where you see reflecting off of a windshield of a vehicle that's parked in this parking lot at 12:42 in the afternoon. And Amazon Prime engages in criminal summoning with the Ontario Fire Department, parking at the same location where the fake sun's over me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's currently 5:03 where the fake sun is at Woodside Senior Apartments in order to be reflecting off of a vehicle in the same parking lot, both in the morning when I stand here, in the afternoon where Amazon, that heavily engages in surveillance with the state and is one of the state agents, where they're engaging in the elements of monitoring and exhibiting demon possession. That demon is walking in engineered light, is creating light activity, is engaged in federal stalking in violation of Title 18, and is arriving to help the people that are going to prison in units 33 through 64. That's why he's making a delivery where it is the apartment where I'm located. That's why he's parked in relevant position, creating method of flashing light. That's why he is making a delivery, which is the malicious engagement of the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, and it's also the demonstration of demon possession. It's domestic terrorism and psychological torture by Amazon Prime. This is the same criminal pattern of conduct that the Ontario Police Department rely on. Amazon Prime is also documented gang stalking, as I referenced them in video documentation today. They're gang stalking with the population that are pacing under what is a fake sun that is nowhere in Los Angeles like it remained on this day in 2024 as well. And what's in Los Angeles documented today is not going to be reflecting off of the mental health patient that lives in Unit 55, whose window passenger side of the window that's parked in the parking lot in space number 46, facing the direction south, while on the west side of her vehicle at 408 West G Street in Ontario, California, with license 5WB715, would there be any sort of light activity or the sun reflecting off of her windshield while it's in alignment to me at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where third-party group stalker Amazon Prime is commercially engaged, like AVANATH Capital Management is commercially engaged in federal group stalking monitoring. This commercial male is gang stalking with the police, gang stalking with the airport, who's amplifying plane activity, and this is the position of the fake sun that's perfectly aligned with Tracy Banks' apartment. Amplified plane, that's federal prison. Those that are gang stalking that are immigrants, they're going to be deported. That's impossible light inside of the truck. That's not sunlight. He's engaged in monitoring in real time. The impunity of Amazon Prime is going to be the federal imprisonment, because I documented them gang stalking with Los Angeles police, and they're going to prison for that. That's the fake sun. When they're engaged in criminal summoning with Ontario Fire at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, this is not the natural environment. Then you're going to reference that documentation, and this is impunity by demons who are pacing. This is aggression. Right here, this is aggression. They're angry because I'm documenting. This is pacing. J Powers and 8Gen 638, they're with Engineer Light. They did the same thing at 10 o'clock in the morning, where this fake's in the same position where RGS Landscaping is gang stalking, like Amazon Prime is gang stalking. And that was a show of aggression. While the demons come around, pacing together, amplified train. You can't hear the train. This demon's monitoring while he's looking for an apartment. That's P.O.C. That's audible activity. Engineer Light in the shade. This is an angry demon. That's Amazon Prime. That is a domestic terrorist. Okay, and they hire gang stalkers that are immigrants in this country to engage in domestic terrorism with the corrupt government. And that includes, again, the removal of Paul Leon, who's facilitating domestic terrorism and psychological torture, and whose demon-possessed gang stalking population, which he is a part of, with the police that were flying in helicopter while this fake sun is in the same position as it's reflecting off of windows and the vehicles at the same apartment. The sun hasn't gone anywhere, and Amazon Prime is a state actor and a psychopath. As you see the vehicles arrive, as I'm pointing out damning evidence, those creeping demons, those were pacing vehicles with the amplified sound of the train under an idle fake sun that's reflecting off of the vehicle that's parked in the same parking lot. The sun hasn't gone anywhere. Okay, the entity has a fake sun reflecting off of this vehicle at 12:45 in the afternoon today, right over this building. At 2:46 on video, it's reflecting off of the same the same vehicle, the same location. And it's still in perfect alignment with Tracy Banks' apartment, where that is creating what is impossible light seen inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. This is P.O.C. That's Amazon Prime. That is a gang stalker. And they're going to prison in units 33 through 64 because the population is engaged in gang stalking with WOODSIDE, who are the people of the state and who are psychopaths. This is mental illness as you're looking at the criminal conduct of the people of the state, indiscriminate of the logos that they bear, the companies that they represent, the activity that they're outwardly. It's under the fake sun and an engineer light, which is mutually exclusive to that which is occurring amongst the people of the state in Los Angeles County. And these are demons that share in that animosity, that sexual violence, that gang stalking, and they're also demon possessed that are engaged in what is monitoring together. Everybody in these buildings are going to federal prison for what I just documented on video, because this is the criminal purpose with regard to the system where they're living, and that's the pattern of conduct. Okay, this is the shadow of this door that's appearing on the ground right here. That's engineer light. And the sun is also reflecting off the vehicles in the parking lot. Amazon Prime is posing an unlawful threat and is engaged in what is impunity. As I documented, that high level of malice, that's an unlawful threat to your life, safety, and well-being. And they are engaged in criminal summoning with the Ontario Fire. Look at that video, because the sun is over me in its zenith at 12:40 in the afternoon, and it's still here after 5 p.m. reflecting as evident, because it's reflecting off of a vehicle in the same parking lot. It hasn't gone anywhere. This is stalking, which Amazon Prime engages in with impunity, okay? As I've been documenting them for years. All right, that's the P.O.C. And as I document, understand what I documented, and then the entity engages in pacing, amplified train. Those were demons who were seething, smoking out of their ears, hostile, because I'm documenting them, all right? Because they're being proven to be demons and stalkers on video. That's the significance of the pacing. That's the significance of the amplification. That's the significance of the car alarm. It's monitoring. And it's going to be the demonic and psychotic ways in which the entity is monitoring, like I'm capturing. It's going to be the diagnosis for their mental illnesses as they're prosecuted. This is P.O.C. It's currently 5:09 when you're looking at that fake sun. And the entity is engaged in gang stalking through a systematic and commercial means. That's Amazon Prime that's profiting while being a domestic terrorist. Again, Mr. Bezos is not ignorant about the gang stalking that Amazon Prime practices with the state throughout this country, by the way. He's fully engaged and he profits off of it. This is P.O.C. It's currently 5:09 p.m. Okay, Amazon Prime is engaged in what is criminal obstruction of justice. They remain a part of the entity. They are gang stalking in the same way that they come under the fake sun amongst amplified audible activity to criminally facilitate and directly engage in the pattern of conduct with the government and with the government that's residing and creating activity at the venue to monitor me, to gang stalk me together, including in the course of documentation in order to prosecute it. Amazon Prime's license plate. Let me go ahead and document because Amazon Prime's co-defendant, license 5WUB715, whose vehicle is parked in the same parking lot, in the same parking spot, at the same address where I'm documenting the pattern of conduct at 10 o'clock in the morning, where the fake sun's over me at the same position where Amazon is parked in the video that I just captured after 5 p.m. And as I look at that very damning evidence that, again, infuriates demons who you saw creeping in slow motion in two vehicles, while Amazon Prime was being a cockroach in the spirit, but you're looking at somebody standing upright on two legs who was walking in engineer light under a fake sun and merely carrying a package because Satan wants to look like he is normal and productive while he is gang stalking, engaging in demonic activity and practicing witchcraft. It is also legally relevant that this is Bezos' criminal engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring as a corrupt terrorist company. Okay, who is not actually or reasonably ignorant about the tremendous criminal conduct that I've documented Amazon Prime as a corporate actor throughout the state of California. That is in Orange County, in Los Angeles County, and San Bernardino County, and doing so with impunity. The third-party gang stalker who is representing the commercial actor who is engaged in criminal obstruction of justice is gang stalking me with impunity and threatening my life and safety and well-being because I am documenting Bezos's gang stalking company, that is Amazon Prime, bearing the license plate 37140J3. The entity is gang stalking via the amplified audible activity of the senior citizen with license 5WUB715, who is, again, living at a crime scene for purposes of the systematic engagement in the pattern of conduct with people like psychopaths driving Amazon Prime vehicles, wearing Amazon Prime vests, and engaging in demonic activity and making money simultaneously. That's what Amazon Prime represents. Amazon Prime is interchangeable with any other company name, every company name that is doing business in the state of California, both in the state, the territory, and also on the venue of the internet. Okay, the entity is gang stalking, and Amazon Prime is being prosecuted because Amazon Prime does not cease to be engaged in the pattern of conduct. As you see them arrive at any moment to facilitate the P.O.C, which is what I documented with the Ontario Fire Department, as I referenced in the video that I captured in the same parking lot in the middle of the day at after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, where at the same time, if you recall that video, the Ontario Fire Department, I will take screenshots and I will remind you about the date. But I am capturing the fake sun over the same parking lot where Amazon Prime is engaged in what is criminal summoning. And what is the what's the nature of the costume that the demons of Amazon Prime wear? Because they like to engage in pacing, they like to engage in psychological torture, they like to engage in domestic terrorism while profiting off of it, which is the despicable means of North America, the United States of America's engagement in terrorism in this country, by delivering a package. And they're doing so under the fake sun. They're doing so amongst engineer light. They're doing so with the demon possessed that represent the city of Ontario, who you saw gang stalking in helicopter today, again, engaging in surveillance over the same apartment complex, over the apartment where I am at. Over my apartment where I'm at, this is where the city of Ontario is also gang stalking vicariously, as you see that there is a superficial and non-existent distinction between the government that represents a specific department, for example, and the government that bears logos, such as Amazon Prime, such as AVANATH Capital Management. And there is also no distinction between the government that's residing in unit number 55, license 5WUB715. She's going to a mental asylum. She is gang stalking like a psychopath in need of very serious, which is what she's going to get. She's going to get serious, ongoing medical attention regarding her severe mental illness that is exhibited and proven by her gang stalking behaviors of pacing like the demon possessed do. They just want to hold packages and walk around the apartment building under the fake sun and in engineer light amongst amplified audible activity. All you're doing is stripping this demon in unit 55 of her old age, of her residence at the senior citizen complex, and you're stripping her of an Amazon Prime uniform, or you're stripping her of an Ontario Police Department uniform, and you're stripping her of the Ontario Fire Department uniform and badge, and you're placing her in the apartment above me, and she's gang stalking. They have the same exact mental illness. It's a psychopathic disorder regarding the demon-possessed who are engaged in federal group stalking monitoring, which is a psychotic system of targeting an American citizen. And it is not only despicable, it's not only corrupt and unethical, it's criminal, and it is severely demented and perverted. Okay, that's what is pacing in Unit 55. And the Amazon Prime is civilly and criminally relevant with regard to, you're going to prosecute this commercial actor who was heavily documented in Los Angeles, California, with the city of Los Angeles, the people of the state in Los Angeles, and the entity that was gang stalking me, both in the workplace, when they would deliver packages under the fake sun all day long. They would engage in molesting me with engineered light under the fake sun, just like every other demon-possessed and mentally ill gang stalker. All they're doing is wearing logos. Amazon Prime license 3714OJ3. This Latino male is gang stalking, and his threatening behavior, such as using the car alarm, the vehicle alarm, with simultaneity to my movement, under where he's gang stalking, and doing so amongst engineered light that's also inside of the Amazon Prime vehicle. He is going to be prosecuted for that criminal act of obstruction of justice. That is harassing and terrorizing and further gang stalking someone, which is a threat by the government, who basically sends the demons to keep you under surveillance by literally being around you all the time in order to psychologically harm, psychologically torture you, while you are subject to a system where you are not ordinarily capable of proving that strangers indeed who also wear Amazon Prime uniforms are stalking you while profiting from the corrupt system. All right, the entity is gang stalking with ongoing impunity, and the mental health patient is engaged in corruption and with the intent to obstruct justice, and that's, again, Amazon Prime license 3714OJ3, and Amazon Prime's severe mental instability exhibited by its workforce, exhibited by the company itself. Let me be clear, Satan owns Amazon Prime. Satan hires the demon-possessed to work for that company to facilitate federal group stalking and monitoring. That's why you don't have any employees that are not facilitating the pattern of conduct. If that were the case, then you would not have Amazon Prime being so heavily documented, just coincidentally and ignorantly engaging in the P.O.C. that doesn't exist. That's why the fake sun is present over the apartment complex, reflecting off of the mental health patient's vehicle that's parked in the parking lot, that's pacing around like a lapdog under this fake sun and amongst engineer light inside of Tracy Banks's apartment at 5:32 p.m., where the entity is keeping this fake sun over me, like I documented at 10 o'clock in the morning at the same apartment complex, which is, again, what I documented earlier today, where the entity is gang stalking by amplified pacing. And this is a triggered demon who is hostile to what it is that she's keeping under surveillance, which is unlawful, while she is gang stalking by residents, which is unlawful. And the entity, as I step outside and the third party's gang stalking outside all around me, I'm surrounded and kept under surveillance, and they're monitoring by simultaneously moving a vehicle as I walk outside, which is stalking in the path with activity. And the gang stalking police department that was already over me at the apartment begins flying over, crossing path with a plane, a commercial plane on the opposite side. Those are demons who are in the sky space pacing, while the fake sun is still in the same position, as you can see it, reflecting off of a vehicle's window at the same parking lot, the same address. The supernatural phenomenon, and the creation of what is an illusion. And it's not even an illusion. You can see it. It didn't go anywhere. It's still here, as you can see it reflecting clearly off of a vehicle that's parked at the same address. I didn't drive anywhere, didn't go anywhere today. I just walked outside, and what you see reflecting off of a windshield, reflecting off a window, is evident of what is still present, which is not the natural environment. And it never went to the state of Nevada, the state of New York. It never went to Los Angeles either. But that's what I documented in Los Angeles, including on the same day, 365 days ago, on this day. At the same time, the entities engaging in the pattern. More than one occurrence is a pattern that is impossible to naturally occur. It is also no coincidence that I have commercial actors such as Amazon Prime that engage in the routine act of obstruction of justice. This is threatening my life, exhibiting severe mental illness, while psychopathic means of targeting and terrorizing someone with helicopters, which is what Amazon Prime would do with the Los Angeles Police Department under the fake sun amongst engineered light. This is what the entity is doing with gang stalking senior citizens who do not work. They're unemployed. They are, in other words, engaged in 24 24-hour devotion and commitment. While needing to take care of their own health needs, they are more so focused on me, which is evident through the unnatural environment where the fake sun is reflecting off of their vehicles, where the fake sun is remaining over the top of my head, where the fake sun is aimed in perfect alignment with Tracy Banks's windows and patio glass door, where engineered light, not sunlight, is speaking to an exceptional level of concentration, creating upright shadows that are speaking to the trajectory of that which is not sunlight. But that non-sunlight is evidence of what is an enduring, remaining fake sun, not the actual sun. The fake sun is evident of what is not the natural sun that you saw over you today on April 1st, 2025. You can have anybody in the country testify to what they saw under while they looked up in the sky today. And it wasn't in the city of Ontario, speaking to what is mutually exclusive. Because I can call somebody on the opposite side of the country as a witness to testify in court regarding what is a supernatural occurrence, regarding the malice whereby mental health patients are going into mental asylums for what is no longer closet and what can no longer exist, regarding threatening American citizens like myself who are surrounded by psychopaths and predators who are sexually violating, terrorizing, and psychologically torturing as demon-possessed stalkers, gang stalkers, which the government uses this program throughout the country, this experiment on human beings throughout the country, which Amazon Prime capitalized on it and made a business by it, delivering packages via gang stalking. It is currently 5:35 p.m., 5:36 p.m. Again, the license plate, license 3714OJ3. Amazon Prime is being documented for threatening my life and safety, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. They remain a part of the entity, just like Shanita Ramaya McLean, just like Jason Isaac Fields, just like Eric Corey Spencer, who are being documented while the population they remain a part of, and you did not remain, you are not then removed from the pattern of conduct where I have the wealth of evidence against you. The same entity that is the whole state, and some of those members of that whole state I know by name, phone number, image. I know their grandmother's name. I know where they lived. I know where they went to school, and I'm prosecuting them. They're being documented, and I am prosecuting them as well. You do not cease to be a part of the criminal pattern of conduct when you drive off. That's the illusion in the minds of psychopaths who are going to be comprehensively prosecuted. You're driving nowhere. I documented you. You remain a part, and I'm going to prosecute you. The entity, this is proving what is an entity-wide pattern of conduct, because Amazon Prime can arrive at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and Amazon Prime can arrive at 5:30 in the evening, and you're looking at the same exact circumstances which defy nature, which is speaking to a statewide pattern of conduct of what is surveillance, and it is occurring in an environment that defies nature. This is where you're seeing psychopaths, because nothing else that is normal is pacing around like an animal. This is an animal, this is an insect, a bug, a creature in the spirit. This is a cockroach that is pacing around, and it's amplified in volume. There are also cockroaches that are pacing around in planes and helicopters. There are also cockroaches that are pacing around in Amazon Prime vehicles. You see them pacing around in the parking lot under a fake sun, license JPOWERS and license 8GEN638. They are pacing as I'm going through very damning and probative legal analysis. While I am speaking to that pattern of conduct, while Amazon Prime is under that fake sun, those demons who are very hostile, meaning they're psychopaths, because they're sex offenders who are mad because you're proving that they're sex offenders. And they're also psychopaths because I've already proven this. This is evidence that's supporting the fact that none of them are getting out of prison. When they're raided, no one's going to respect the fact that, and no one's going to care if you need a walker. You're going to be carried out like any other terrorist that's a threat to the public, to the American public. Like you want to engage in gang stalking with impunity, be prepared for being treated by the feds like the threat that you are. The entity is in doing so with regard to corrupt third parties such as Amazon Prime, and this is relevant to the civil and criminal prosecution of those that engaged in gang stalking bearing logos, those that engage in gang stalking bearing logos with the government, LAPD, and those commercial actors, and the production of evidence regarding the identity of those that are driving those commercial vehicles, those employees going to federal prison, and that company being prosecuted for psychological torture, harms that you cannot quantify, harms that they are ceaselessly engaging in. As I document them and their co-defendants whom they're gang stalking me with, and as they drive off, they are still continuously engaging in harassment, terrorism, and psychological torture. Amazon Prime, in other words, is very much engaged in monitoring my genitalia. That is a gang stalking company. That is a sex offender. That's what you know when one of their demon-possessed employees are crawling about under the fake sun, which is supposed to be some sort of persuasive stage where you're looking at decorations in the sky, because that's not the natural environment, and that's a demon that's crawling around in engineer light, monitoring in plain view, conspicuously stalking. holding a package is speaking to what is against public policy. You shall not profit by federal group stalking and monitoring. You're going to drain the pockets. You're going to prosecute the demons that Amazon Prime as a corrupt company hires, facilitating and systematically engaging in domestic terrorism in this country. That's what's relevant to the ongoing amplified pacing of a psychopath, license 5WUB715, at what is the same time that I'm referencing the video of the entity gang stalking at 10 o'clock in the morning in the exact same location in this parking lot. At 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to go ahead and do a screen recording. The entity is now interfering with the operation of the communication device. This is how I'm just referencing the obsession of the demon-possessed. And this is why the corrupt government and no psychopath, no obsessed demon-possessed gang stalker that is already documented, such as Jason Isaac Fields. This is a predator. This is a pervert. This is a sex offender. And this is not name calling. This is someone who is obsessed with me, just like the rest of the population who is gang stalking. This is somebody that is deriving pleasure from targeting. This is an entity that derives pleasure from targeting. And no gang stalker, no psychopath, no child predator, nobody that's engaged in and is enthralled by bestiality, enthralled by what is polyamorous lifestyle. This is a pervert. And this is somebody that is very psychotic, that is targeting me in the spirit and is still being documented gang stalking while he's engaged in sexual activity with Tracy Banks, my mother, and is obsessively monitoring me and gang stalking me. This is a pervert that is gang stalking as well. My point is, no documented gang stalker, no terrorist is going to be subject to anything other than documentation for purposes of federal prosecution. While the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the government that remains the initial wrongdoer is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally with regard to everything that's occurring, while it never had the right in the United States to place any American citizen under such an inhumane system, such as federal group stalking and monitoring. Okay, the entity is doing so with an ongoing obsessive endeavor. And that is, again, the witch, Jason Isaac Fields. This is somebody who is a psychopath, who is monitoring and who is in the spirit engaging in psychological warfare with the rest of these demons who are gang stalking me physically. I am still continuously documenting because this demon who was married to the witch, Tracy Banks, who practices witchcraft with her, who is obsessed with me and my genitalia along with her, who is a pervert along with her, is still engaging in targeting and has no right, and I will document with regard to the threat that he poses and every other gang stalker poses that is continuously engaging in this P.O.C. All right, the entity is doing so obsessively in the same way that a lapdog, this is a cockroach in the spirit, that is a psychopath pacing around inside of her 600 square foot apartment in order to monitor her neighbor, that is severely demented. And she is going to a mental asylum where she's going to be locked up for the benefit and protection of the public. Okay, in order that she can't harm herself and anyone else. That's really the key. She is a public safety concern, while this demon remains free gang stalking by residents, which is the same condition and status of the Woodside Senior Apartments complex. Linda Reyes is documented while the population, again, is documented engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, which she is criminally engaging in and facilitating as a gang stalking employee with the same police who provide evidence against her. So does the population with whom she's gang stalking at her place of employment in conformity to the pattern of conduct. Linda Reyes' mental illness is exhibited while a cockroach is pacing around like a lapdog, while demons are engaged in psychological warfare, obsessing over me while they're engaging in monitoring in the spirit. I'm giving Linda Reyes as an example because the entity is going to be prosecuted with regard to what it engaged in and what it facilitated as a whole entity together. That bullying system is going to be put under the name of that individual demon in court, and they're going to be prosecuted. And where it's speaking to the demented mind state, that demon that's going to be prosecuted is going to an asylum as opposed to prison, which is where you're going, where you work at the crime scene, where you live at the crime scene, where you're systematically engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, for example, with the police, who are already, the whistle's already blown on them when you're being gang stalked in the city. You're looking directly at the police department. You're looking directly at the mayor's office. You're looking directly at the government that's gang stalking throughout the city and doing so in concert with a demon-possessed and corrupt population. That is the weight of the evidence against the city of Ontario. And no gang stalking official, no gang stalking sex offender, no gang stalking nymphomaniac and voodoo practicing satanic high priest, whatever Jason Eisenfield, this psychopath, refers to himself as. This is somebody that's obsessed with me, and he will under no circumstances be anything other than a terrorist remaining on the record, gang stalking with all of the state. While I remain subject to it, and I want to document that because that's the ongoing component with regard to the demons that are pacing all around, engaging in that same satanic targeting system. It's 5:44 p.m. Amazon Prime's engagement in obstruction of justice via psychological torture of psychopaths that are stalking you with noise, stalking you with light, stalking you while and harassing you while you're documenting them, while your devices are kept under surveillance. That's criminal conduct that Amazon Prime is going to be held liable for. It's 3714 OJ3. You need to understand that the demon-possessed who represent a corrupt company such as Amazon Prime, the demon-possessed are engaged in the psychological warfare. You have demons that are engaging in psychological warfare, and they work for Amazon Prime. As I am dragging out of the out of darkness what demon-possessed people, those who practice witchcraft do in the shadows, and I'm prosecuting it in the natural. You need to know that that's a demon that was operating an Amazon Prime vehicle, and this demon is one that is also engaged in targeting in the spirit. They're engaged in psychological warfare, and they're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is demonic activity that you have proof of while I prosecute the evidence of a population stalking you. This is somebody that's engaged in psychological warfare as well. The vehicle operator of the Amazon Prime vehicle with that license plate, again, it is 3714 OJ3. All right, that's the significance of the demonic pattern of conduct. And this demon that is, again, exhibiting the desire to retaliate and harm by use of the car alarm. While I walk by it, that demon was hostile, and that hostility is also communicated while the demon is in Unit 55 pacing above me as I document him. And let me be clear, he's not representing only himself, because you're being prosecuted as an employee of a gang stalking company. You're also being prosecuted as a company, just like AVANATH Capital Management and then AVANATH Capital Management's employees. All right, just like the state of California and then the people of the state that are gang stalking by residents. Every single last one of them catching a federal case, and none of them are staying in these apartment homes, and none of them will have any assistance with payment of rent. And those in 33 through 64, those apartments, they're going to prison and mental asylums where pacing people belong. That's where mentally unstable people who engage in beating themselves, beating their heads about the walls, harming themselves and pacing around like anxious psychopaths who intend to harm another, who intend to harass and terrorize another, who are monitoring. And now monitoring is understood as what it is. It's the psychopathic pattern of conduct designed to keep another person under surveillance amongst the engineered light and amplified audible activity. While the entity uses an amplified sound of a train, that's letting you know that a whole lot of people at the same time are engaging in monitoring. You have what is a national security threat in Ontario, a population of mentally sick people who are together gang stalking, and the demons have been bullied with evidence, and they're hostile to it. Their hostility is going to put them in mental asylums. It is currently, again, 5:47 p.m. I'm going to capture the video of the fake sun, the phenomenon. The video is capturing the fake sun over me at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm after this video that I captured today at 5:03 p.m. The fake sun is over me at the same position not only at Woodside Senior Apartments, remaining over me. Then as I walk into the parking lot at the same position, next to this demon's vehicle in the parking lot, you will see the fake sun in the same position that it is, reflecting off of a window. In order to be reflecting off of a window, it has to be directly above that window, because it's certainly not in Los Angeles outside of my bedroom window, and also at the same time reflecting off of these demons' vehicles at Woodside Senior Apartments. And it certainly is not the sun that's in constant motion, meaning it would not be rising and then present at any time of year, at any time of day, also documented setting at the same location, the same address. That is evidence of what is a sun that's not moving. In order for me to capture it reflecting off of a vehicle in this parking lot in the morning, it is not going to be reflecting off of a vehicle in the same parking lot in the evening. Neither does that occurrence create sunlight that then shoots like a laser into apartment buildings and off of objects. That's the significance of documenting the specific environment where psychopaths are pacing right in front of you. If pacing is the demonic behavior of what are mentally deranged people, you need to understand that instability is evident through their behavior. And you are looking directly at pacing while a demon holds a package and wears a logo and operates a vehicle, speaking to Amazon Prime. License again, 3714 OJ3. This is P.O.C.
it is currently 5:56 p.m. This is for documentation purposes regarding what it is that I'm capturing on podcast. So let me first start this video with the entity that is gang stalking, and this is the commercial actor Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime's license plate, Amazon Prime remains a part of the criminal pattern of conduct as they are arriving and maliciously engaging in the P.O.C. and the people of the state that are gang stalking by residents. And as an ongoing population, Amazon Prime is a part of that corrupt population that's gang stalking at the venue. And as they drive off, meaning the pattern of conduct continues, and I document, publish as I always do, and I am always subjected to ongoing harassment and terrorism and psychological torture. In the form in an apartment building, an apartment complex, criminal interference with quiet enjoyment while that property management company is gang stalking, while you're being subject to terrorism and psychological torture at your home in an apartment building. All right, and so 37140J3 is being documented. I'm going to capture the screen recording to show you the significance of what happened at 10 o'clock in the morning on March 25th, 2025. That was just days ago, and what I documented moments ago at 5:03 p.m. at the same location in the parking lot at this apartment complex, which is the specific environment, showing you the malice of gang stalkers like Amazon, who are being documented at the same time, while I remain subject to the unlawful violation of my rights by the gang stalking entity that is targeting me while I am in the midst of what is documentation. So first of all, you're looking at this. This is where the entity has the fake sun on this side, this X here. This is where the fake sun is beginning, while I am, you can see where I touched the screen right here. This is the building where I'm at, Unit 51, and this is where the fake sun is rising on this side of Tracy Banks' apartment, Unit 51, in the morning. And this is, like I captured at 5:30 p.m., where the entity has the fake sun on the opposite side of the same location, and it only advances as I advance. And you're breaking down that illusion of regarding it. There's not even an actual illusion. The more that you're listening and understanding, that's not movement. That's moving as I move. If I don't move, neither does the fake sun. It's rising from one side of my person to the opposite side. As my person advances west in the parking lot, the fake sun stays wherever it is. If it's at the top of my head and I walk west, it stays at the top of my head in the direction west. If the entity is rising the fake sun and setting it toward the west side of my person inside of this apartment, that's what you're looking at, and you're breaking that down, because you can see the position of the fake sun at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can see the position of the fake sun at 12:30 in the afternoon. You can see the position of the fake sun at 4:30 in the evening, and you can see the entity keeping the fake sun at 5:30, 6 p.m. when you're looking at what is when I'm not walking. You can see what the entity is doing. It's just staying on the same grounds at the east, and then directly above my head, and then what is on the west side of Tracy Banks' front door, Unit 51. So that's the significance of understanding the P.O.C., because this is what the entity is doing. It's rising the fake sun on the east side of Units 33 through 64, and it is setting the fake sun on the west side of Units 33 through 64. And this is the same venue where there is no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4. There is no placement where the Ontario International Airport is taking off. They're not taking off from the street. They're not taking off from the shopping plaza that is east of this apartment complex. They're not taking off from the airport and then remaining hovering throughout the city and then rising in elevation as they fly over what is essentially flying over what is this apartment building right here at the front of the apartment complex, and then rising in elevation, flying over essentially what this street right here is Vine Avenue. This is G Street. There's no takeoff from Terminals 2 and Terminal 4. The entity, in other words, is clearly gang stalking by planes. As you saw the Ontario Police Department gang stalking by flying, they were engaged in surveillance sitting right here in a helicopter, hovering over the apartment building as I walk out, and the entity is gang stalking by helicopter by flying over me at this apartment complex where AVANATH is gang stalking. AVANATH is gang stalking with Amazon Prime. AVANATH is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. AVANATH is gang stalking with the entity that is... All right, it is currently 5:56.
All right, AVANATH, as I was stating, AVANATH is indeed gang stalking with the people of the state. And that is what I want to show you. That is what I previously recorded, so I just went on ahead and let that play again because I don't want to restate all of that. All of that remains the same. I want to document the demon that is still right now engaging in what is amplified audible activity of a psychotic nature. This is license 5WUB 715. This is a severely demented third party. This is the same conduct of the entity that's gang stalking, however. So I just want to be clear, it's not different from the gang stalking police department. The demons are pacing all around. You're just being acquainted with how mentally sick people, how demon-possessed people who don't want you to know about that are engaging in what is trying to appear substantially similar to a normal person, to somebody that's not demon-possessed, to somebody that's not gang stalking another person. And that is accomplished by living at the same location where the person is being targeted. That is accomplished by engaging in what is appearing on the surface, again, absent the knowledge of the specific environment, to appear to be something that has nothing to do with the target individual. But that's not persuasive with regard to the gang stalking by the government. In helicopters and airplanes and whatnot, the entity that's gang stalking by police, fire, and ambulance, they are the ones that make it so obvious that the entity is gang stalking. Then you get into the specific environment, which ties it all together. Then you're getting down to who are the demon-possessed people of the state. So when you're looking at the population, this demon is engaged in, it's currently 6:09 p.m. She has, since I started breaking down the entity gang stalking under the fake sun that rises on this side and sets on this side of the apartment, where I started this video, the entity is maintaining ongoing amplified audible activity, which is, again, nothing other than the demons that are harassing. And her license plate is 5WB715. And she is engaging in that pursuant to a pattern of conduct. So the entity that is indeed engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring inside of unit number 52, she is, again, this third party is gang stalking and is severely mentally ill as well. The demon in unit 55 shares the same building, and she is in relevant position. She knows what I'm saying as well. She and whoever lives with her in this apartment, she's going to federal prison. You see this walker? This old biddy's going to prison. Okay, she's gang stalking with the demon in number 56. They are engaging in the pattern of conduct by gang stalking by residents. They are sharing with impunity, and they have the same mental illness, demon possession, and malicious desire to target someone and psychologically harm them. That's why they're living at a crime scene. That's why the entity is welcoming the police who are gang stalking. That's why they engage in criminal summoning with the entity. The government is helping them engage in the statewide system of group stalking. The entity is doing so with, again, the mental health patient that's in unit 55. She's not engaging in any anomaly. She is mentally sick like every other gang stalker that's residing at the crime scene, and she's engaged in ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, which, as you see, is the pattern of conduct. They are always engaging in the same exact code of conduct, especially while I'm documenting what is the P.O.C. at what is at Woodside Senior Apartments, where AVANATH is indeed gang stalking with the people of the state. Those that are in units 33 through 64, they're going to federal prison. They're going to mental asylums, which is where the demon in unit 55, who you can see, she's the one that is engaged in amplified pacing, and she does so as I look at this video. The moment that I pull it up at 10 o'clock in the morning, these demons are triggered by this. This is what they're triggered by, okay? The entity that is gang stalking me, sorry, I want to show you. This is what they're triggered by. The moment that I pull it up, the demon in unit 55 immediately begins amplified pacing. Now, what's significant, I'm going to show you what I documented on this morning. I walked into the parking lot at 5:30 p.m. This is what you're looking at down here. This is the exact same parking lot that I'm in at what is at the end of the day at 5:03 p.m. And as I document this, Amazon Prime does not cease to be engaged in the pattern of conduct. They came and participated in it. The entity remains a part. There is no ceasing to be. You don't end a part of a criminal conspiracy because you drive off. Your co-conspirator is acting on your behalf, and you remain criminally responsible for that which your co-conspirator continues, which is reasonably in furtherance of completing that criminal objective, which is gang stalking. That's the purpose of a whole entity, gang stalking. That's the purpose of gang stalking where you live. And AVANATH Capital Management is gang stalked with Amazon Prime, who is engaged in criminal obstruction of justice, psychologically torturing me. Criminally interference with quiet enjoyment by gang stalking in an apartment is accomplished by amplified audible activity that fills your apartment, which is a violation of the ordinary rules of how property management goes. The entity that is gang stalking by demons that are filling the apartment buildings, and they're going to federal prison in units 33 through 64. They are doing so with the intent to obstruct justice. While I'm documenting the following, this is the fake sun that's over me at 10 o'clock in the morning in the same parking lot.
Talking with the people of the state in these two buildings who are going to federal prison. All right, RGS's license plates, these are the Latino males. If they're not natural born citizens, you're going to send the likes of them out of it. All right, and they're engaging in the pattern of conduct with regard to what is retaliation, because they're the ones that were monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom, and they're documented in the perpetual sex offense that's committed in bathrooms when you're being kept under surveillance by a bunch of predators, males like those that work for RGS, license 7N98091. They're going to mental asylums and going to prison, which, you know, these sex offenders, these pedophiles in Unit 41 are 04661DA. It's Impossible Light. They're going to mental asylums.
Okay, so first of all, what you're looking at here is the fake sun is over me, and pay attention to this vehicle that you see down here. License 5WB715. This is the mental health patient that is gang stalking Unit 55. It's her vehicle. She is a documented gang stalker while the fake son is over me where she resides. I'm prosecuting these demons by the location where they're at. And then I'm also documenting them because they're admission to being gang stalkers while they engage in their code of conduct. The entity is surrounded by a body of evidence, but it goes even farther than that because you need to understand what Satan is doing. You need to understand that Satan is your enemy. He hates you. He is a spirit and he uses people. And you can also deduce his presence through an environment that defies nature. It's demonic. So at 10 o'clock in the morning when I'm at the same location in the parking lot, because you can see the same vehicle right here where I'm pointing, that's license 5WB715. And this demon is monitoring in the same way in this video down here, which you will look at. That's what this demon is doing. As I walk, hold on, I want you to see where I'm at, because this is called surrounding with activity. And this license plate right here is license 8GEN638 under the fake sun that's reflecting off of the same vehicle where I'm standing in the same parking lot. And 8GEN638 is stalking in the path. That is, you're stalking someone whom you know who they are. You're stalking someone because you know what they're doing at the moment that they're doing it. You know all of this about the knowledge of what is a stalker who is obsessed based on the nature of stalking, which is proven through an environment that defies nature. Not only do they know what I'm doing, they engage in more harassment, terrorism, and psychological torture tactics while they're maintaining an ongoing campaign of psychological warfare. These are demons that are targeting in the spirit, and these are demons that are clearly targeting as I'm prosecuting them for gang stalking. And their psychopathic, diseased mindset is going to be used to diagnose them by virtue of what they did to me. Because you're gang stalking me, now you're going to be sitting in a mental ward. Those who engaged in documented acts of pacing in helicopters, in airplanes, in their apartments, outside under the fake sun, in their vehicles, I'm documenting it, and you're going to a mental asylum. The entity is doing so. I want to be clear. What 8GEN638 is engaging in, that's what this demon operating this vehicle residing in Unit 41 is doing.
DA. It's impossible light. They're going to mental asylums. 9CZCO59 underneath, across 1312.
Now, the significance of what you're looking at, first of all, the vehicle is driving by. Engineer light is appearing underneath the carport, and then the location where I'm at inside of the parking lot. And then what's the bigger picture? Not just at the same location in the parking lot, but I'm at the same address. And the duration of time analysis is what you're looking at here, as well as literally the same location at the same address. And then the body of evidence, I'm in Los Angeles today, last year, 300, same day, same time, I'm in Los Angeles. This is impossible to coexist with the sun being over me at 10:37 in the morning outside of my living room window, but I have that on the record on April 1st, 2024. Being over my head at 12:51 p.m. as I step outside of my front door, as I'm facing the hillside, but I have that on video on this day, April 1st, 2024 at 12:51 p.m. as I go downstairs at 1:42 p.m., at 1:47 p.m. The Los Angeles Police Department is gang stalking just like the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking today under that idle remaining fake sun that you see in this video down here reflecting off of a windshield that is parked at an apartment complex. And what is reflecting off of a windshield is that which is still at the same location, because it's certainly not in New York, it's certainly not in Los Angeles, it's certainly not even in Montclair, California. It's directly over Woodside Senior Apartments, over this vehicle as I am documenting it. And this is what is relevant to what is the criminal engagement in the P.O.C. by commercial actors such as Amazon Prime, license 37140J3, who is harassing with the entity with whom it's gang stalking by a demon that thinks that they're clever, thinks that they are wearing a cleverly disguised mask, by gang stalking via logo, gang stalking via profiting, commercializing the satanic means of terrorism in this country. That is what Amazon Prime represents, and they're gang stalking in the same manner. So let me show you again what happened at 10 o'clock in the morning, and you will see the fake sun reflecting off of the vehicle in the same parking lot this is speaking to. What is present over me in the same position in the parking lot at 10 o'clock in the morning is in the same position over me in the same parking lot at 5:03 in the evening. Amazon Prime is a heavily documented gang stalker.
Going to prison, which you know these sex offenders, these pedophiles in Unit 41 are 04661DA. It's impossible light. They're going to mental asylums.
And that is the fake sun at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's right next to the vehicle that I am standing in front of right here. And for it to be reflecting off of the rear windshield of the vehicle that I'm standing next to, and at 5:03 p.m. at the same address for it to be reflecting off of the passenger side window of the same vehicle at the same address in the same parking lot, That is the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, which you are understanding, and it is proven through presence in the specific environment. Where also driving under the sun will never create light streaming underneath and across away from your vehicle. That's speaking to malice, and that is, in other words, the demon possessed who are admitting to being demons, who are admitting to stalking.
License 7N98091. They're going to mental asylums and going to prison, which, you know, these
RGS is in the same status as Amazon Prime. Gang stalking, the population coming onto the ground.
offenders, these pedophiles in Unit 41 are 04661DA. And it's impossible light.
All right. Oh, sorry. The entity that is doing so under the fake sun that is remaining over me. This is 10 o'clock in the morning. These third parties in Unit 41, they drive past with the intent to terrorize. Stalking with light is the signature of the demons who are engaging in the criminal act of gang stalking. It's terrorism, where I'm standing at the same exact location. That which is over the vehicle at 10 o'clock in the morning is not going to be reflecting off of the vehicle at 5:03 in the afternoon. That which is driven under the sun is not creating any sunlight, but dragging across the walls while you're moving a vehicle, while you're walking, while you are inside of an apartment. It's the same thing. Sunlight doesn't appear across your ceiling. It doesn't cause sunlight to crawl across on the walls and on the floors. This is demonic. It's the evidence of what is surveillance and what is engineer light. None of this is sunlight. Neither is that the sun. And you will have further evidence of this. While Amazon Prime is intentionally and knowingly, this is again the fact that I am known by this Amazon Prime, the company whose employees are gang stalking, and so is everyone at Woodside Senior Apartments. While a psychopath is going berserk with regard to audible activity and pacing, this is the fury of Satan, who is using the body of a person that's going to be diagnosed. Her mental illness is being acted out. She is manifesting her mental illness while she is hostile. And that hostility is in the form of what is pacing, and it's amplified in volume, something that is also supernatural.
Of a windshield of a vehicle that's parked in this parking lot at 12:42 in the afternoon. And Amazon Prime engages in criminal summoning with the Ontario Fire Department, parking at this possible light. They're going to
All right, I want you to see that fake sun reflecting off of the windshield while you're looking at it reflecting off at 5:03 in the morning, and the same thing is happening at 10 o'clock in the morning. Excuse me, 5:03 in the evening, and you're looking at the same thing at the same apartment complex at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then you don't understand, but you can understand why demons are upset. And that hostility, which is criminal acts of obstruction of justice. It's an unlawful threat by the government who is acting through an entire population while they are monitoring you, which is a sex offense. And it's the ongoing criminal activity by the facilitating venue itself, AVANATH, but also by the gang stalkers, who are all going to be prosecuted under existing law, such as the Violence Against Women Act, and also for domestic terrorism and psychological torture. And everyone in units 33 through 64, where this phenomenon is occurring, that's why they're living and engaging in stalking with noise and stalking with light and ongoing terrorism with the government, using planes and helicopters and the population, bearing logos like RGS Landscaping, like Amazon Prime, facilitating that. They're going to prison in units 33 through 64, and so is Linda Reyes and every other employee working for this third party AVANATH Capital Management.
same location where the fake sun's over me at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's currently 5:03 where the fake sun is at Woodside Senior Apartments in order to be reflecting off of a vehicle in the same parking lot, both in the morning when I stand here, and the afternoon where Amazon, that heavily engages in surveillance with the state and is one of the state agents, where they're engaging in the elements of monitoring and exhibiting demon possession.
So I'm referencing Ontario Fire Department's active criminal summoning that I documented. I also, Amazon Prime parked on this same side of the parking lot, and the parking lot is at approximately 12:42 in the afternoon, where at the same time, the entity has the fake sun over me on the same day. At the same time, I was doing a screen recording that day where they engage in criminal summoning, and the fake sun is also over me in Los Angeles. This is what Amazon Prime decided to engage in knowingly. Amazon Prime, the people at state tend to repeat that which they know is documented about them. I have never met defendants. This is the character of Satan, though, and it's not any badge of honor. It's actually not victorious either. These are the demons that engage in behaviors such as laughing when they are surrounded with evidence, laughing when they look guilty, when they pride themselves on trying to look innocent, whatever they think innocence looks like. But you do not look innocent under the fake sun. You don't look like you're not a stalker under the fake sun. And this is how the entity is going to be proven to be the malicious psychopaths, the maniacal stalkers that they are. and gang stalking in the specific environment. While you're looking at the fake sun reflecting at 10 o'clock in the morning at the same location, you're looking at the fake sun that's over me in the same location, over at the same location at the same exact address. And this is an illusion with regard to what's supposed to appear far away. It's not. As you can see, it's right here over me as it is appearing through the window of a vehicle parked, and it's doing the same thing at 10 o'clock in the morning at the same address. That's the malice of demons who are very severely mentally ill. This is the prosecution of the entity that was gang stalking by helicopter, the Ontario Police Department, and this is the prosecution of the third party, Amazon Prime. Okay, and I want you to see, not only is this not the sun,
fake sun that's perfectly aligned with Tracy Banks' apartment. Amplified plan? That's federal prison. Those that are gang stalking that are immigrants, they're going to be deported. That's impossible.
That's not sunlight either. This is engineered light. This is indeed someone who is gang stalking. You don't have the engineered light there while you move packages around and move around in it, which is accomplishing monitoring, and you're ignorantly or accidentally, nor will you be found unaccountable for that which you're doing, which is committed in furtherance of murder. You're going to be prosecuted for that. Not only the person operating the vehicle, but the company itself. And there is a wealth of evidence against Amazon Prime as an individual, because companies are treated as persons. So Amazon Prime, that individual is a sex offender, and it is a gang stalker, a domestic terrorist, and it's a very heavily documented one. Okay, the body of evidence is showing that Amazon Prime intends to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, facilitate federal group stalking and monitoring, which is sexual violence, sexual perversion, psychological torture, psychological warfare, and also that which it is seeking to obstruct justice by engaging in as well. This is the engineered light, which is not the product of the sun. It's not the sun while it's over me at the same location at 10 o'clock in the morning and 5:03 p.m. This demon exhibits hostility using the alarm on this vehicle, as he is hostile to my documenting him, and his co-defendants pace in the parking lot under the fake sun like cockroaches. Pay attention.
Light inside of the truck, that's not sunlight. He's engaged in monitoring in real time. The impunity of Amazon Prime is going to be the federal imprisonment, because I documented them gang stalking with Los Angeles police, and they're going to prison for that. That's the fake sun. When they're engaged in criminal summoning with Ontario Fire at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, this is not the natural environment. You're going to reference that documentation, and this is...
Pay attention to the amplified train. That's impossible to hear. It's impossible to be the sun at the same location. A co-defendant with whom he's pacing. The vehicle drives in. He's walking in the same direction. They're pacing.
Impunity by demons who are pacing. This is aggression. Right here, this is aggression. They're angry because I'm documenting.
J. Powers, license JPOWERS. These are demons who are pacing using their vehicles and pacing on foot. He's walking in engineered light. They're driving in engineered light. They're under the fake sun that's over me at the same position at 10 o'clock in the morning. This is the pattern of conduct of monitoring, conspicuous stalking by demon-possessed people who are targeting you, know exactly who you are, know exactly what you're saying. And then they're living in these apartment buildings, gang stalking on a 24-hour basis. They're all obsessed with me, gang stalking, and the evidence of the environment proves that. The evidence of the intent to do so via amplification of any means is the evidence of that. And they're severely mentally ill conduct, which is not natural or normal under any circumstances. This isn't traffic. This is P.O.C. This is pacing by psychopaths.
This is pacing. J. Powers and 8Gen 638 there with the engineer light. They did the same thing at 10 o'clock in the morning, where this fake's in the same position, where RGS Landscaping is gang stalking like Amazon Prime is gang stalking. And that was a show of aggression. While the demons come around, pacing together, amplified train. You can't hear the train. This demon's monitoring while he's looking for an apartment. That's P.O.C. That's audible.
That's a criminal act of retaliation. That demon is hostile. That's audible activity, relevant positioning. And this is a demon-possessed person who is actually seething because I'm exposing his criminal conduct, his sexual perversion, and his psychotic obsession with me while he does not personally know me. This is a demon-possessed person who was very much angry because I'm exposing what it is that he's doing, and he thought he was so smart. And I'm referencing a spirit right now. He thinks Satan thought that he was so intelligent, so high-thinking that no one would ever suspect or be able to prove that gang stalking is underway. That's what Amazon Prime is engaging in, and the use of the alarm is a simultaneous means of activity creation as I turn around and start walking under what is the idle fake sun. That's how you know the truth about everything that I just told you about what's happening in the mind and the condition of that person with that sick mind. Because of this environment, which is the reflection of the sun has to be over the same position in the same parking lot, which is the duration of time is speaking to how that's impossible to naturally be the case. 10 o'clock to 5. Let's count the hours together. 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 hours later, the fake sun is documented in the same exact position in alignment to me, reflecting off of the vehicles that are parked at the same location, and the use of the alarm. You need to understand what demons are doing. They're creating activity, and it's noise. It's audible activity under engineered light, which is occurring with regard to monitoring me, which is what demons do when they don't like you, when they're hostile to you. Understand the spiritual significance about what monitoring is. Monitoring is being stalked by the demon possessed who are obsessed with you. They're engaged in psychological warfare. They're stalking in the spirit, and I'm proving how the demon possessed people are stalking physically, and this is government action. This is P.O.C.
Engineer lighting machine. This is an angry demon. That's Amazon Prime. That is a domestic terrorist. Okay, and they hire gang stalkers that are immigrants in this country to engage in domestic terrorism with the corrupt government, and that includes, again, the removal of Paul Leon, who's facilitating domestic terrorism and psychological torture, and who's demon-possessed gang stalking population, which he is a part of, with the police that were flying in helicopter while this fake son is in the same position.
And let's recall what is the same position, what you saw today, the Ontario police gang stalking under an idle fake son that has gone nowhere. And yet I have a body of evidence about what happened on this day in 2024 on the same day at the same time.
That's DBUNI, gang stalking with the demon in unit number 55, who is stalking right above me in the living room where the fake sun and engineer light is aiming inside of the living room. That's a demon stalking in the path with light, just like Ontario PD did with license 8GEN638 at 12:13 p.m. And then the Ontario police flies right over in relevant position. They're gang stalking with the police right now. The audible activity is inside of the apartment where the demon in unit 55 with license 5WUB715 is.
So as far as the system, let me just break something down for you really quickly. License DBUNNI, D Bunny. She is a gang stalker by residents, and she is engaging in what is the elements of monitoring in the same way that Amazon Prime is. Parking their vehicle and turning their hazard lights on is a method of presence in the path activity creation using the hazard lights. D Bunny is already in the parking lot. D Bunny is aware of what it is that I'm doing with my communication devices, and they are always trigger happy. And by trigger happy, I mean they are always on edge with regard to my heavy documentation. So you are always in a position to maintain a mode of activity creation as I tend to walk outside of the apartment. This is what D Bunny is doing. She's engaged in surveillance in the parking lot. As I walk out, she's already moving her vehicle, which is light activity under the fake sun that is remaining over me, by the way, hours earlier today at 12:02 p.m. 5 p.m. D Bunny is gang stalking by residents while I'm at the same apartment, and the fake sun is reflecting off of a vehicle at the same exact apartment complex 5 hours later. And I have documentation of what happened on this day, same time of year, same time of day, analysis regarding what's not the natural environment and the unnatural environment. The specific environment is present because D Bunny is gang stalking with her co-defendant, the mental health patient in Unit 55, who is a chief means of amplified audible activity inside of an apartment building where the demon possessed are gang stalking via amplified pacing. Everything that this elderly woman is doing is amplified in volume. That's a supernatural occurrence, and it's criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, facilitating gang stalking amongst the population. You in your apartment. That's inhumane, and it's also psychopathic. It's also sexually perverted. D Bunny is monitoring as I walk outside of the apartment, and she's gang stalking with the police who are right over the apartment building already.
In prison. All right, she's going to federal prison, gang stalking with the police like everybody in units 33 through 64 who are monitoring on my device. Well, you will see on April 1st, 2024, the unity is gang stalking while I'm living in Los Angeles, where there's no sun over my front apartment. I cannot hear the plane that's at that elevation, at that distance. This is the demonic environment. And you're looking at demons who are gang stalking commercial planes. Paul Leon is being removed from office. Gang stalking by Paul Leon is being removed from office.
That's the Ontario Police Department gang stalking. Never forget about the bigger picture. This is the enduring fake sun. Like I stated, rising on one side of Tracy Banks's door and setting on the opposite side of the same front door. What is over at 12:02 p.m. is still at the same location, while it is reflecting off of a vehicle parked in the same parking lot at 5:03 p.m. like I documented. That is not the sun. That is the setting where you are identifying what Amazon Prime is criminally facilitating, intentionally doing so. Amazon Prime, let me also tell you about these corrupt actors. They surmise that their criminal engagement in the P.O.C. is going to be some basis to relieve mental health patients like the elderly and unemployed at Woodside, and it will not. All of these unemployed demons are going to prison. And not only that, Amazon Prime is also going to be prosecuted. So I'm going to both drain the pockets, I'm also going to criminally prosecute, and the unemployed elderly are also still going to prison. I am still draining the pockets of AVANATH. Everyone is being prosecuted for what they sought to do against an American citizen, one person. There's no negotiation with terrorism and with terrorists. That is inhumane. You're talking about a human being, a human life. And this is what the entity does. And this is why you'll have the impunity that's exhibited by a third party such as Amazon, because I've heavily documented them engaging in that. They'll arrive with absolute disregard for the fact that Amazon Prime's they already have a poor reputation, but Amazon, the reputation for terrorism, that's a whole other level. And Amazon Prime does not regard that whatsoever, but neither do the entity. They're homeless. They are essentially homeless. They're going to be out of a house and home. No one else is going to give them housing because you will be a prosecuted sex offender and a terrorist. They're not getting any housing benefits. That does not stop a psychopath from engaging in it. Satan has blinded them so much that they are more consumed with gang stalking me, even though that ongoing endeavor is already exposed, and it's not going to happen with regard to what they want. It's going to happen with regard to what I already told them via this documentation, what's going to happen to all of them. And they're still gang stalking. And third parties with Amazon, like Amazon, they have deep pockets. They are very corrupt. They will arrive and engage in the pattern of conduct. And the mindset behind that, which is also informing policy, you are going to prosecute indiscriminately, regardless of how deep the pockets are, regardless of how impoverished the entity is. The unemployed are going to prison. The physically handicapped are going to prison. The entity that's gang stalking by residence, by place of employment, by being a trespasser, they're gang stalking. The categorization of the venue is what controls, not the placement of some public property. It's absolutely irrelevant. It's relevant insofar as understanding how the entity is exercising malice, but it's irrelevant with regard to what is a fake sun and engineered light where surveillance is underway with the government. That's the impunity that the impunity that exhibits such severe malice, and what's relevant about what's over my head.
Amazon Prime, just like
At 10 o'clock in the morning, where the Ontario Police is gang stalking under a fake sun from 12:02 to 5:03 p.m. That is, again, the demons that are engaging in surveillance by keeping me under, doing the same thing while flying over this apartment building at 12:02 in the afternoon under what is a fake sun, which is the evidence of a gang stalking police department that relies on corrupt companies like Amazon Prime and AVANATH Capital Management. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 5:03 p.m. And this is, again, license 5WB715, a documented gang stalker. She is a mental health patient by documentation of her criminal course of conduct. And she is going to a mental asylum. And she is doing so on behalf of the state, who has the same condition. Their demon-possessed state is what is the cause of their severely demented behaviors, which are designed to monitor. Monitoring is criminal surveillance, and surveillance is happening around you and on the venue of the internet and upon your devices, unbeknownst to you. And the demon-possessed are not ignorant about that. That's how they're monitoring you. Okay, gang stalking is the system that's committed in furtherance of committing murder, kidnapping, speaking to the corrupt misuse and abuse of the court justice system, the criminal justice system, and also the unconstitutionally vague laws where American citizens are being kept against their will in mental asylums, where there is no diagnosis, where the government has no jurisdiction to keep anyone against their will, when they're engaging in this inhumane system in order to kidnap and falsely depict the character of American citizens, whereby the entity is gang stalking with those who are actually mentally ill, such as the demon in Unit 55. License 5WUB715. This is P.O.C. It's 6:36 p.m. All right, I do want to get again to the entity that is a violent sex offender, and their obsession includes my nudity, includes, again, obsessed with what's going. Just imagine in your mind somebody that is obsessed stalker and stalks you everywhere that you're going, and they also follow you into the bathroom. That's the entity that is gang stalking. That's the people of the state. So the entity is amplifying that which is impossible to hear, and you can literally have an expert come into the apartment. And I mean, these are things that are verifiable, but nonetheless, it's amplification. It's audible activity under all circumstances. But I want to be clear with regard to the demonic engagement. That is, you're going to such a far extent to monitor because you know I'm about to get naked. That's the sex offenders that are gang stalking, and that's Union Pacific. So they are associating that, and you need to know it's the government that's a sex offender. So the government that is simultaneously engaged in the use of the criminal justice system to prosecute so-called sex offenders, and the government itself is a violent sex offender. All right, is engaged in what is monitoring, which is a sex offense, and engages in what is monitoring, that is the elements of monitoring, when they anticipate my getting naked. That's a sex offender. Okay, and I want to be clear, it's Union Pacific, which you cannot hear at this area in the city, nor can you hear it inside of the apartment. I've documented the entity gang stalking via the use of amplified train inside of my car. I've documented it inside of Tracy Banks's car parked at 630 North Fern Avenue. I've been documenting driving in my vehicle on video and looking at a train in front of me, and it's not interfering, it's not competing. You don't hear any train activity at all. This is the unintelligent entity that is demon possessed. Satan is very short-sighted, like I said. You're going to surround the entity with the evidence speaking to why are you creating that amplified method of audible activity. Even if it was the demon that lives in 55, there's sex offenders that are excited by, they start monitoring with audible activity when I'm about to get naked. They do the same thing with regard to my genitalia in the bathroom. And that's what I want to make sure is known. And that's relevant to the entity that's going to be criminally prosecuted for it. Okay, sex offenders that bear logos, they are going to be prosecuted for what they engage in. And they do so on an ongoing basis. And my nudity is a matter of public information. You got a bunch of demons that are pacing around in the sky space, on the roads and the highways and all the apartments at Woodside and the city itself. Even the mayor is aware of the moment when I pull my panties down. That's why you have people that are going to prison, losing their positions. They're out of office, and they're going to mental asylums as well, because of the egregious level of a violation of privacy that has never been before legislated, it's never been contemplated. And it is proven that's what the entity is in fact doing. And it's absolutely demonic. That level of perversion is also demonic. It's currently 6:51 p.m. This is P.O.C. When I'm writing stuff down. But anyway, you've got all these great colors. Hey, have you seen any of my tights out, like on top of my clothes or anything? Have you washed any of my tights? I don't remember giving you any, right? Oh, because my tights, these that I have on, they're brand new, but there's like a weird hole, and it looks like it was like ripped in the hole. You don't know anything about that?
Okay, I don't touch your stuff.
Yeah, I know. You said that before, but my other shirt that was also brand new had a hole in it right at the breast. And I asked you about that. You don't know nothing about that? Like on where one of my best assets would be. That's where the hole is. Looks like it was ripped there. Like someone would like not want anyone else to see me, so I wouldn't wear it, so my best asset wouldn't look so wonderful. You don't know nothing about that? Well, I don't know. I think you might want to check your clothes. Maybe there's bugs biting holes in the clothes. You should check yours, because I found a mysterious hole on my tights. And they're brand new. All of my clothes actually are brand new. I would hope that none of my expensive Nike tights have holes in them, because I don't wear those either.
Erica,
Yeah.
get out of my room.
You don't know nothing about it? Well, you should check your clothes. Make sure there's no bugs biting holes in your clothes, okay? Good night. All right, this is a witch that's envious. She puts holes in my clothes, and she's been doing this for years, and very expensive clothes, so it's particularly annoying. It's not about the material, it's the principle. And this is the same person that strips off their clothes and paces around like a psychopath in the kitchen. This is somebody that is going through my belongings and then putting holes in my clothing. Okay, that's envy 101. And it's been going on for a long time. When I was living with her, when she was in my apartment, going through my closet, going through my clothes. And this is why now I know in hindsight, while my brand new heels, which I've probably worn once upon a time, and then I wear them to work and the heel breaks off. I don't buy cheap clothing. I don't buy cheap items. And I also don't abuse my things. So this is something that's happening while my stuff is in bags in her living room. This is a psychopath who's gang stalking at the same time. Nothing that she's saying is credible. I'm asking a question that I already know the answer to. All of my clothing is brand new. I was released from kidnapping in January of 2023. So everything that I bought. I literally had nothing after I was kidnapped. Everything was stolen. And I moved to Los Angeles where the enemy was gang stalking me. So literally everything is brand new. And because I'm living and working out, I'm explaining this for context, because when I say brand new, I literally mean brand new. All I did in Los Angeles was go to work, go to the gym, and go home. And I lived and worked at home. And aside from the fact when the entity started gang stalking my helicopter, I still am pretty much a homebody. And so I buy clothes, but I don't typically, I have a lot of stuff in the door that had tags on it still. And so for it to be in my bag and I'm not even wearing my clothes and I take out one item of clothing, this is somebody that is jealous of my body. This is somebody that wants to be me. This is somebody that's been doing this when she was living with me in my home. I would go through and find my brand new or expensive items suddenly damaged. And so I just want to be clear. This is somebody whose mental illness goes to the extent of gang stalking, to the intent of wanting to murder and kidnap someone. as petty also at the same time as going through my belongings, jealous because she can't fit it, jealous because she can't wear it or whatever, and literally wants to be me. Okay, so this is the pettiness of the people of the state. This is a demon, and this is a witch that literally wants to be me. I'm not exaggerating it, and I also don't find it to be a compliment. I don't find it something to be gloating about. Her mental illness is very, very serious, and it remains a threat. And I want to document these types of things because it's relevant to what is needful for her, and it is a mental asylum. Okay, and I want to make sure I document and itemize every little thing that this psychopath does, including things that she's embarrassed about being called out for. She knows that this is being recorded, not because I'm holding the phone, because that doesn't mean you're recording, by the way, but this is a demon that's monitoring on my devices. Okay, so I'm talking to the entity right now, and the entity knows very well what they did a long time to my clothes, and I just discovered it right now. These are psychopaths that are envious of me. That's why they're gang stalking me, by the way. Obsessed, envious, okay, consumed with me, including the way in which I fit my clothing. Okay, that's who is gang stalking inside of this apartment. It's currently 1024. That's damage to personal property, by the way. Everything is relevant to the prosecution. That's damage to personal property. It's P.O.C.